Thank you so much, Lucian. Welcome, everybody. Today is Wednesday, January 4th. You are in the Battery Park City Committee meeting of Manhattan Community Board 1. My name is Justine Cuccia. I'm the chair of the meeting, and got a whole list of folks here who are panelists, who you can see, who are on my committee: Betty Kay, Bob Schneck, Eric Flores, Jeff Galloway, Robin Force is a public member, Sarah Cassell. And then we have other other members of the board who are not in the committee but are joining us, and I'm so happy. Jill Goodkind, Wendy Chapman, and I think that's it. And we've got a bunch of people in the attendee section, so that's lovely. I want to remind everybody that we work with Robert's rules, so that means that the committee will speak first. I will be calling on people, recognizing them. They can be telling them to unmute themselves, and then they can speak. If you're an attendee, raise your hand and I will get to you after I speak with the committee, or the committee gets a chance to speak, but you will get a chance to speak. I will not ignore anybody, and my computer's working, so I can see you, but also, Lucian and any of the board members, please pipe in if I miss somebody whose hand is raised. And yes, thank you for your patience and thank you for calling in. I want to address the agenda and make a note that we're going to talk about the closure of Rite Aid in Brookfield Place first. And then we're going to go to the green retrofitting. So we're going to do that one first, a little bit out of order, but it just flows better. And with that, for that conversation, I'd like to try to limit that discussion to 20 minutes. And as I start speaking, you'll kind of get a sense why. What we have found out to date, first of all, yes, Rite Aid is closing. We do not have a date certain yet. We have been told by different people that the pharmacy itself will send an email advising that they're closing in 2 weeks, but I don't know if that's true or not. That's like amorphous. I will say that CB1 has spoken to Brookfield about what's happening and what the plans are, and they have their statement that Lucian can pull up, but I would like to tell you that after having spoken with them, I'm confident and comfortable that we're on the same page and we're aligned in what we would like for Battery Park City. And I'm comfortable and confident that they understand where we stand as residents. They understand the needs of the workers who are in their own building, as well as the neighboring workers who use the pharmacy there, as well as Rite Aid. And they understand the need for a store that is a little more community and consumer centric than like Fendi or Hermes. So that was a positive step. We also have Nick Spordone, who's going to be calling in if he's not in already, from the Battery Park City Authority, who also agrees with us, which I was happy to hear. And I'll let him speak for himself. Yeah, he's here. And you can move him over if you want to, Lucian. And yeah, so with that said, I'd like to kind of open it up to first the board with questions and comments, and we can go from there. Go ahead, Sarah. I see your hand raised.
Two things of interest. I was in Rite Aid today and I spoke to the manager who I'd never seen before. It's clearly a regional person. It's closing the 16th. And I also, earlier in the week, 2 days ago, went to the Walgreens, Duane Reade, whatever, in the Oculus, the new one, and was told by the pharmacist there that, quote unquote, they had put in a bid on the pharmacy.
Okay, that's fine.
That means
I don't know, but well, let me say this to you. What we were told is that Brookfield will not share what their negotiations are at this point because they don't want to do anything that's going to hamper the negotiations or put either party of whoever comes in at a disadvantage. So we're not going to talk about that. But they also told me, this is going to be interesting to them, that they're closing the 16th because the Rite Aid's lease allegedly expires at the end of February. So that would be something that perhaps we can reach out to Rite Aid and ask them to stay open longer to give workers and residents a chance to move their prescriptions and to find out what's going to happen with the prescriptions and where they're going to go. But anybody else raise their hand? Could we put up, could we also put up, Lucian, Brookfield's statement? So we have, is that something you can put up?
I can put it on the slide, but I can also read it
Just
out.
read it,
It's in
yeah.
the chat. Yeah.
Okay.
Brookfield statement is: while we are saddened by Rite Aid's decision to close retail locations, we are working diligently to find a solution to meet the needs of our local community in Lower Manhattan.
Yeah. So read between the lines there, but oh, go ahead, Robin, you speak. You're muted. You're muted.
I've been pretty vocal on this for that, and a number of you have seen and heard. You know, it's a pity. It's a shame for those of us who've been here any period of time. The local pharmacy closed, Rite Aid took over. It was a pretty seamless transition. But here we are, you know, X years later, and we're perhaps 2 weeks away from a closure, and there's no firm plan in place. And I mean, the pity of it is not just a, you know, a store to buy potato chips and Tylenol. It's a pharmacy, and we're a community, not only survivors of 9/11, but we're a large residential community. It's perfectly centrally located in our community. Everybody is aware of these factors. Brookfield's not under any obligation to rent to one industry or another, but I do hope that the dialogue that you, Justine, and I assume Tammy, have been having with Brookfield will end up serving our community by providing a pharmaceutical resource outlet for us to be able to continue getting the treatment we need without having to break and go to other neighborhoods and so forth and so on. I don't know the status of the Duane Reade in the North neighborhood. I don't know if they provide vaccinations or anything like that. It's certainly not handy for people in this southern part of Battery Park City. You know, let's say south of Albany Street. So I'm hopeful that that Brookfield may actually work to provide an amenity to the community. As you said, we don't care about Fendi or
No.
I don't know, Diane, but I don't know who's there.
Yeah,
But
I know,
anyway,
exactly.
they're not in the business of creating stores to serve our community, but they're also
Mhm.
a community member, they're a neighbor, and they need to act like a neighbor. So good luck and fingers crossed. Thank you.
Fingers crossed and good luck. No, thank you, Robin, because that expresses kind of the frustration and the sentiment all the way around. And like I said, I believe that after talking with Brookfield, they're aligned with us, and actually after talking with the Battery Park City Authority too, they're aligned with us. Before I call on Jeff and then Jill and then Mary Ann Braverman as an attendee, I just want to make sure that everybody remembers that Rite Aid is a business. They have announced in the news that they're closing their brick and mortar stores all throughout New York City, not just here. They have every right legally to close, to stay open, to do whatever they want, as long as they're not breaking any, you know, laws, and they're not. They're free to do what they're doing. Brookfield cannot force them to stay. The Battery Park City Authority cannot force them to stay. I did ask Brookfield when they found out about this change, and they said not not a whole heck of a lot before we did. So they were kind of as surprised by the quick turnaround as we are. So that made me feel comfortable. They also promised to keep in touch with CB1 and let us know what's going on. And if they know anything, so from their knowledge, they're not aware about that date, Sarah, that you said about January 16th. They don't know. But
That's
they
what
said
he said.
yeah, they have no information, but they did state that the lease expires in February. But that doesn't mean that Rite Aid has to stay open till the lease expires. But that's just information. So we will do a little more research and find out. And Jeff, then Jill, and then Mary Ann. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was part of the same conversation that Justine had with Brookfield, and I came away very encouraged from that conversation. keep in mind that the people that work at Brookfield also shop at Rite Aid and get their prescriptions filled at Rite Aid.
And Battery Park City Authority too.
Yeah, and it seemed pretty clear to me that they're well aware of the benefits to themselves, to their tenants, to the attractiveness of the location of having a functioning pharmacy close by. And I would just add to what Justine said about Rite Aid. I mean, they're closing stores all over the country. I mean, it's not New York City; it's all over the country. They're closing stores. They're at least according to the announcements that they've made in the press. I think they're having a difficult time financially. So although certainly Brookfield made no promises to us, they can't force somebody to move in to that space, but it seemed clear that they understood the importance of it. And it also appears that Rite Aid's competitors are well aware of that vacancy and may act in their own best interest in making use of that vacancy. So I felt encouraged by the conversation that Justine and I had.
Thank you for confirming that, Jeff. Go ahead, Jill.
Hi. So one of the concerns I have, and I spoke with the pharmacist, is what's going to happen to folks' prescriptions. And my particular concern is that we have so many 9/11 survivors in this neighborhood who use that pharmacy. And also there's a lot of seniors in this neighborhood. So you have mentioned there's a 2-week notice that they give out, but I'm not sure how that will reach people. And secondly, what I understand from the pharmacist is that they will move the prescriptions to a nearby pharmacy, and I'm not exactly sure what that means. And she told me she hasn't any further information on that. Are there any laws or rules that govern this, and how can we make sure that our seniors and people who are ill and may not even be aware, so many people in the neighborhood are not aware it's closing, that they will be able to fill their extremely important and in some cases life-saving prescriptions in a timely manner?
Thanks, Jill. No, really good questions. And, you know, as someone who fits into the category of people that you're talking about, I'm very concerned, especially if it's the 16th. But whatever, that's quick. But I will say that, like a kind of as a public service announcement, Jeff actually suggested this in our conversation as an idea, and Brookfield folks said, you know, not advising, but just saying things we threw out as options for people. Rather than, because we have some advance notice, rather than waiting till Brookfield closes or transfers our prescriptions, it will probably be sensible to be proactive because people will want to decide where they want to go. So my biggest fear, and again, we've invited Rite Aid folks to come, they didn't come. We've invited a bunch of people to come to this meeting to get some more information. But like I said, at least Alex spoke to us and gave us some information and explained why he couldn't be here. Nick is here, and he and I have talked obviously about this. But what I think is important is that there's no guarantee where they're going to send the prescriptions. And maybe you want to go to King's Pharmacy. Maybe you want to go to Duane Reade in North Battery Park City. Maybe you want to go to the Target Pharmacy. Who knows? Or CVS in Fidei. Whatever you want to do, be proactive. Go to Rite Aid, get your prescriptions transferred to someplace. Number one, step one, including the World Trade Center health program prescriptions, because as someone who has struggled under, especially because the World Trade Center changed their provider, who, no comment, but they're very frustrated. And then Rite Aid had to go through hoops to learn how to deal with getting the prescriptions filled and paid for. So that's going to be a learning curve for whatever new pharmacy. So giving yourself time, and then perhaps having the Rite Aid pharmacist still working and in existence to help talk the new pharmacist through what's going on would not be a bad idea. So that's step one. And then step two, I know I personally have gotten COVID shots, flu shots, but then also God knows, I don't remember what I've gotten. That's the bad news. Have I gotten a shingle shot? Have I gotten, you know, a chickenpox shot? Whatever. But they have a list of every shot that you've had at Rite Aid. Get that list so you have a clear printout and a clear record of your vaccinations before they close. Because we don't.
And they're happy to do that. Paula and I
Yeah.
went over there last week, and gave us a printout of all of our vaccination history.
And the second part, though, is a lot of people don't know it's closing. So while we on this call and many know and can take that wise advice to be ahead of the curve, how do we make sure that this message gets out? Is there a way we can do it? Is there something we can do to this broader community that uses Rite Aid?
Beyond asking Nick and the Battery Park City Authority to include the closure, imminent closure in their newsletter, you know,
Right.
our own community board monthly letter. We can speak to the papers, we can speak to the broadsheet, we can speak to the Tobacco Trib. Anything else that's local, Downtown Express would be a good one, where they could put it out there. So those would be all publications. And then maybe we take a page from the Battery Park City Neighborhood Association and do a little bit of flyering.
Let me just throw this last part out. Is there any way it makes sense to have a reso on the need for this drugstore for the community, that it will be familiar with 9/11 prescriptions and the special needs of this area? Because while it looks good and we're hopeful another drugstore will take that spot, we really don't know, and they're negotiating. So the question is a reso something we want to consider to make sure that the needs of the community are loud and clear?
I hear you. At this time, I don't think that would be advisable based on Brookfield's stance on prejudicing their negotiations. And I'll leave it at that. We can talk offline a little bit, but I think that Brookfield understands our position. They heard us, and Jeff, pipe in and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think they heard us. They heard what we wanted, what we needed, and they were quick to agree that they needed it. They've got people who work in their buildings who are also 9/11 survivors, who are part of the World Trade Center health program. So they're not unaware. They're not unaware, and they're not
Yeah, I think it might actually, the resolution could have be
detrimental effect,
perversely
right?
counterproductive in the sense that if the people that are negotiating to fill that space know that they are under pressure to fill a pharmacy, that presumably the pharmaceutical proposed tenants will try to, lower the rent that they'd be prepared to take, and Brookfield might find itself going with somebody else who's
Yeah.
Yeah.
willing to pay a higher rent.
So I just think it's
I
better
believe-
to not have that conversation at
Yeah.
this point in time.
I'm just gonna leave it with, I disagree. I think the needs of the community should always be first and loudest, not the possible negotiating of Brookfield or anyone else. But I understand what you're saying, and I will leave it at that. I've spoken quite.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
I don't think they're mutually exclusive is where I'm coming from too, but I hear you, Jill.
Okay, thank you.
Lucian and then Marianne. Robert and attendees.
Just want to pipe in. Sounds like with the idea of the need for other pharmacies in the area to be trained on how to navigate the World Trade Center health program, and all the work that our community has done to work with Rite Aid and push them with their pharmacists. If the committee did want to do a resolution, there could be one pushing for Rite Aid to train area pharmacies and create an off-ramp for all of their extremely sensitive patients to nearby pharmacies, and not just go away, because it's not simply going away. There's a huge administrative burden here that is going to go falling back on the residents. So that could be, if that could be something that that you could call for, that wouldn't prejudice. It would just be calling for Rite Aid to do the right thing on their way out.
If in fact Rite Aid is closing the 16th, maybe it needs to be a letter from the chair if you want to do it that way.
That's also a good call.
Yeah, because I want to be careful how we thread that needle to make sure that we're getting the point across without overstepping. And you know me, I don't mind overstepping if I see a benefit in it, but I'm afraid of there not being a benefit. But let's talk. Let's keep. I don't want to have the discussion here. I think that, is it fair to say that if this committee would support a letter from the chair asking for Rite Aid to work with any new pharmacies or pharmacists that, even if it's multiple pharmacists that the customers choose to go to. And perhaps, I don't mind this, asking Rite Aid to stay longer and stay as long as possible, because we really need we need to give people a chance to be informed and,
I would be concerned about micromanaging that, because it may be the sooner the better to get them out in terms of getting a replacement
Oh.
in.
that's fair too.
And if they're leaving anyway, there's no sense prolonging the agony if it's going to delay a permanent replacement. But I have a question about the Trade Center prescriptions. Although some of my family members have that prescription card, they've never actually had to use it because the insurance actually covers whatever prescriptions they've, regular insurance has covered whatever prescriptions they've needed. Is there a difficulty in getting that card recognized?
There's difficulty. So what happens is and Bob, I'll call on you next, and then Mary Ann, sorry. Yeah, there's a difficulty because the way that it works is the World Trade Center program, as it slowly is losing, I don't want to say it's being defunded, but the money's an issue. How's that? They have gotten a different provider to process their stuff. And it became where you have to use your own insurance. If you have insurance, you have to use your own insurance first, and then the World Trade Center will pick up the difference. So depending on what your drug is, if your drug is, 3 cents or $1.50, you're not going to fight about it. I never fought about it. But once the drug started to become more expensive, and then there's a copay, and then whatever it is or deductible with your insurance, and then you're talking a significant amount, $100, $200 a month that you're paying out. That's the difference. And
Well,
the
I understand
drugstore,
that. Are the pharmacies not
they
processing?
won't
that
fill it. Yeah,
thing?
they tell you. So yes, you call in your prescription. They tell you this is the process, the beginning of it all. Tell you that it was done. It's not done. Why is it not done? Oh, we don't have the medicine. So then you go in and it's like, they do have the medicine, but you can't, we're not going to fill your prescription because it's going to cost you this much money out of pocket and you're not going to pay that. So why are we going to fill your prescription? And it's like, no, it's covered. And it's like back and forth. And so to get one prescription filled that has been filled for like years, it took probably 2 weeks. And then the next month, they had to do it again. It took 1 week. And then next month, it took, a week. So it took a process of maybe up to 6 months to get them on board. And it was in part the pharmacist, in part was the new provider. And yeah, and if you don't have insurance, that throws everything out the
No,
window.
but
on top
I'm
of
just
that.
trying to narrow this to what a resolution
but there
or
are
a letter might
issues.
be. I mean, it sounds like it may be an LHI problem or whoever the entity
Yes.
is that more than a pharmacy problem.
Correct, it is, but if what'll happen is the pharmacy tells you, talk to to the World Trade Center program, the World Trade Center program says, talk to the pharmacist, and you really have to be a detective, and annoying to figure out what the
But are
problem
we
is.
saying that Rite Aid has figured out the solution and they should
Yes,
share their
that's my
trade
point.
secrets with
Yes.
everybody?
Yes, and it's not every pharmacist. Now I think it's every pharmacist because I know I have gone in there and spoken to every pharmacist, but
If
and
they have
walked
some
it.
actual secret knowledge here as a result of working through this.
It shouldn't be secret, but yes. There is some secret knowledge. And again, the thing is, it's not Rite Aid who has the secret knowledge. It's the individual pharmacist, which is why I'm a little bit hesitant. And I'd love to, get feedback from the committee to push an individual person to have to do something, especially if it's,
Yeah.
that seems, yes, it's part of her job or their jobs, but I don't know. It seems
Well,
almost overreaching.
Well, especially since they're about to lose their jobs.
Yeah, I feel like, so yes, but go ahead. Look, well, okay. Tammy's here. Everybody's bumping up. Bob, I made you wait. Lucian, unless you're going to tell me something I said was wrong.
Not at all. Just letting you know that you've hit the 20 minutes that you set
Oh,
for this.
Perfect. Okay,
And also
let's go
that
quick.
the thing I mentioned actually came from Nick at the BPCA, so his idea for the transfer. So I was just parroting it.
Yeah,
So thanks, Nick, for that.
yeah, no, because a transfer would be great, except that, well, okay, yes, let's go ahead, Bob,
Okay.
and then Mary Ann, and then Tammy, if that's okay. Tammy, yes, you're going to speak. Sorry. Go ahead, Bob. Bob, go ahead. Your camera was working, but we didn't hear you. Okay, now I see your sound, just, so go ahead, speak.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
So I have.
Mm. No, you're
We're-
breaking up.
Huh?
You lose your sound with your
You're
video.
breaking up. The sound is on, but you're breaking up.
How about now?
Better.
Okay, we'll just try. I just have a simple suggestion, and that is that since we're inside 2 weeks before the possible closure, I think that we can ask for Rite Aid itself to put up a message that says it's closing, and to have that message be simply informative that says, if you've had your prescriptions here for the past bunch of years, then you should do X. And here's how you transfer those prescriptions to another pharmacy. And if you have records here for your vaccinations, et cetera, then we will print those out for you. And any other kind of information that would be germane, I think would be very helpful for them to do at this point, and I think really important.
I think that makes sense, Bob. I'm gonna call Marion. I know I'm making you wait, and I'm sorry, and I appreciate your patience. I'm gonna call on Tammy because Tammy, I think maybe spoke to Rite Aid. I don't know, because my understanding, again, this is mine's third hand. My understanding is Rite Aid was going to send out that letter within 2 weeks of them closing. So maybe it's not the 16th, but maybe it is. But yeah, that's what. So go ahead, Tammy.
So the protocol that I was told by the Rite Aid team on location is corporate will make a decision as to how they are handling the prescriptions. Corporate sends the note out to customers and the pharmacists at the same time, and that is usually a 2 weeks notice. So that is what the pharmacy was waiting for, because I picked up my scripts Saturday. That's what the pharmacy is waiting for. I spoke to the manager on site. They don't know either. They were, on day one, she was placing an order. On day two, she was told that the orders would not be forthcoming. They'd be getting no more truck deliveries. Then they had silence. Then they were told to pack everything up. It's going to be shipped to a different store. So that's as much as they knew, but they did tell me that the protocol for pharmacy is that all customers will be notified. But they couldn't tell me when because they don't know when the store is closing. And
Right,
I assume I tuned in late. You read what Brookfield
Yeah.
said.
Yes. We read what Brookfield said. Rite Aid has not made a formal statement. So how about we do, I guess where I want to go, and I want to close this down because we need to move on, but I'm going to let Mary Ann speak. But my suggestion is going to be is that we need to do more homework. That's the problem here, is we got to find out what the facts are, and we don't have them. I don't
In
even
a
know
way,
if a
it
letter
doesn't
from the
make a
chair makes
difference.
sense. No, I know.
In a way, it doesn't make a difference. What we really need is just a service in the neighborhood.
Yeah, that's the short answer. And I don't know that, which is why I'm not inclined to do a reso or a letter, but that's it. Let's ask Mary Ann what's going on. And raise your hand we'll talk about it after, but go ahead, unmute Mary Ann.
Marion
Go ahead,
should
Mary
be
Ann.
able to talk.
Number one, when the BPC pharmacy on South End left, my best recollection is they announced that they were transferring all the prescriptions to Rite Aid.
Yes,
Any store, any other pharmacy could be chosen. And if you don't contact us by such and such a date, that's where that's where it'll be. So I think it's perfectly valid to ask the higher up people at Rite Aid to do that, and
Yeah.
not to expect a lot of individuals to do tons of work to make it happen. Number one. Number two, I also get a World Trade Center drug, and it gets filled from a Duane Reade on Lower Broadway. They
Oh, nice.
always deliver it. I don't even need to go anywhere for prescriptions. So my first thought when I heard about Rite Aid was, well, that's no bother because you can always get things delivered. I don't know if that's if people think of using that, but they do it at Duane Reade.
And I had a prescription that would have been under insurance for $169 a month ago. They phoned me and asked me, what do I want to do about that? And then I could
Mhm.
look into, is there a generic, is there this, is there that, and so on. So you can get that service at other places as long as, you know, you ask for it. And they, again, it's getting to know, because I've known them there now for multiple years.
Makes sense. Well, that's a good plug for the Dwayne
Yeah,
Reed on,
yeah.
where is it?
Anywhere. This one happens to be at 37 Broadway. And they have
There
a
you
back
go.
entrance on Greenwich.
Okay,
No,
that's a good
Church,
plug for that.
Church
They're
Street.
aware of the World
Yeah.
Trade Center health program
Oh,
that
absolutely.
functions.
Yeah,
I think most pharmacies, even Rite Aid, would deliver. I
yeah,
would
I
go
think
in
they
personally,
would.
but
So you know, and I think maybe seniors or some people are not aware of that, but I think wherever the prescriptions might be going, it would be good for information to be shared with the whole community about how they can
agreed.
make use of a service like that, because it's no trouble. You have a doorman building, so it's not
Hmm.
like it's left in
Yeah.
the outdoors. My bigger issue is we don't have what we need in this neighborhood to live like normal, maybe middle-class people. And we see it with restaurants closing. We see it with Dwayne Reed. We've seen it with, you know, that bagel place that we liked. We don't even have a decent Chinese restaurant down here, which we did have on
Yeah.
and off. So I would love to see a small group put together to sit down and really talk about what do we think we need here. Because, for example, I could care less about pharmacy because I get it delivered, and that's what's in the back of my mind. Somebody else may have a totally other opinion about that, or reason they have to talk to the pharmacist or whatever. So I don't think any person, and unless it's enough of a cross section of people, will come up with what the needs really are. So
Okay.
I've wanted to do this since I heard Miramar closed, because there's another big loss to the
I
community.
don't know if Miramar is actually closed.
Well, I heard they were, and maybe
I know.
our intrepid reporter from BBC eBroadsheet could do an investigation and give us all a report. But that's what I hear on the street. That's the word on the street.
The word on the street is that I have spoken to Miramar, the owners, and they've
Yeah.
just said, no, we're just taking a break.
Well,
What
why
that
don't they put a
means?
sign that says that?
I
mean,
know, that would be nice. I
Sorry, but
know.
how stupid is that? And if that is truly the fact, maybe we could get the news out. So
Yeah,
we're not
that
all
would be nice to
speculating.
have not, yeah, instead of everybody gossip or having rumors, right?
Exactly,
No, so I've
exactly.
heard it too, so,
Okay.
all right. This is
Okay,
longer than 20
so
minutes. I want to
I
wrap
think
this
I've
up.
said what I wanted to say, but I do really want a group put together, whether it's done by BPCA or by the community board in this committee or all together, to get a cross section of volunteers and to do it in a week or two, not, you know,
To-
not let it go too
to-
far out.
To get the word out, Mary Ann?
No, to people to talk about what do we need in this neighborhood
Got it.
and come up with a way to get it here. Because, you know, we talk every year about how much money goes from the authority to the city and state for them to do we don't know what with, but they're not building affordable housing. And, you know, use some of that money maybe to supplement a rent so that a place can have we can have an affordable, comfortable restaurant or a coffee shop or diner. You know, I'm old enough to remember when a coffee shop did not mean Starbucks. You know, it's just a comfortable place to sit and eat and talk and clear out.
Yeah,
the
no,
computers.
good suggestions, Mary Ann. Let's,
All
you and I
right.
talk offline.
All right, I'm done. Thank you.
No,
Bye-bye.
no, that's very
I
good.
mean, I'm
Good
not leaving,
suggestions.
but I'm done
Yeah,
talking.
please don't leave because we are going to talk about some of the stuff that you mentioned, but not all.
Okay.
But thank you. All right. So where do we stand here with this issue? Letter from the chair? Raise your hand. Wave at me. Do something if you want a letter from the chair. I know you want to talk, but everybody wants a letter from the chair. All right, letter from the chair. I don't even know if I do. I'm not raising my hand, but okay, I don't hear from Jill or Jimmy or Eric or Betty.
What would the letter- I don't know what the letter would say.
Yeah, I don't know what the letter would say either. I know, right? And
I think it's premature and it's time to sit down and wait.
I think it's time to sit down and wait as well, and I think it's unfortunate because the time is gonna pass if we sit down and wait, but I'm not ready to write a letter right now. I don't know what we're gonna say, and I feel as if we say too much, it's gonna be wrong, and I'm not sure who we're gonna be talking to. All of that said, I will make an effort, and I'm gonna hope that Nick agrees to help me make the effort to see who we can reach at Rite Aid to convey this, because I know Brookfield we've spoken to, but I think we need to speak to the Rite Aid folks. And if there's a way to help me make that connection, because I haven't done it yet, I would love it. Jill, and then I'm shutting this down.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I couldn't raise my hand because of all the different
No, it's
buttons.
fine.
But I just want to, I guess, reiterate that I do think a letter or a reso is something to consider because the loss of this is greater than I think just the prescriptions. It's also a affordable place. It's 24 hours. There's
Yeah,
a
I
lot of
agree.
benefit. And I don't, and I disagree strongly that us saying we need something similar in that spot is going to somehow, you know, detract from Brookfield's negotiations, and it's not our business to worry about Brookfield's negotiations. So that's it.
Thank you
my
so
feeling.
much, Jill. And
Bye.
Bob, I'm hoping your hand is up, that you forgot to put it down, because I really want to close this down. It's, you do have something to
Just have
say?
a tiny comment. And
Quick.
the tiny comment is that an important service from that location was vaccinations and those
Yes.
records. And so if it's possible, if there is any resolution or we do send a letter or anything, one thing that you should convey personally is that we really want to have those records saved if it's possible. And if they can send all those records to another local pharmacy, that would be helpful to everybody.
Would be a given. And I don't know that that's the matter of law, but I think that there's a piece of it that will transfer. If you want to say and where it goes, do it yourself. If you're like with the Battery Park City Pharmacy, they closed like in a day, and that had to flip. And they went to the Rite Aid. I wasn't well, I guess I was, based on what Marianne said. I guess I was asked because I didn't do anything and it went to Rite Aid. But that was fine because that's where I was going to go. All of that said, I'm going to shut this conversation down right now because I can't get enough people on this committee to go for a letter. I think a resolution will it'll be closed by the time we get a resolution. We could raise this up again, maybe at exec, but I need more information to put something together. So we'd have to, that's what I would say is maybe we push it to exec if it's not a done deal already. With that said, I want to recognize Robin, who wants to say something right now about a totally different topic. This issue's closed, but go ahead, Robin.
Hi, thank you, Justine. I wanted to announce here tonight that I'm going to be stepping down from the community board from my public member status on the Battery Park City Committee. I have recently joined the Mayor's Office of Community Affairs as Manhattan Borough Director. I'm really excited to be working for them, and I will be continuing to be a part of Community Board 1 in that capacity. So thank you, Justine. You've been an incredible committee chair, and Tammy before you. And just thank you, everyone, and I'll see you at a meeting soon.
Robin? Yeah, congratulations.
Wait. Does
No.
that mean that we might actually get an answer from the mayor's office on stuff? Oh, Robin.
Perhaps.
Yes, that's what I told her. I said, now it's nice to know we know someone in the mayor's office, because up to this point, it's been a
Yay,
black hole.
congratulations. No offense intended, but boy, am I relieved. Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
no, and thank you so much, Robin, for your service. You've been an invaluable member long, and so many levels of everything in your participation. So you will be missed, and thank you so much.
Thank you, and I'll see you at a meeting soon.
Okay, take care.
Bye,
Mwah.
everyone.
Bye. All right, so I don't know what that means, but that means something. We still have quorum, and I think we should go on to the next thing, which is going to be the local law 97.
It means after this meeting, because she announced it here, she'll be resigned off the committee.
Okay,
Thanks.
okay. Okay,
Okay.
so this is going to be, Bob, you're good. You and Lucian have worked this together. And so take it away, both of you, or you, Bob. And thank you.
I'm just going to lead off for a second and say that I've been working on ecological and passive house matters for a decade, and I've been a citizen, a resident of Battery Park City since '88. And one thing I noticed over time was that the grades of the various buildings were, in some cases, precariously low. And the way local laws set up, it could be very, very expensive for them. So because I've worked on passive house for a long while, I at least have some knowledge of what kind of approaches are taken in Europe. And I'm interested in people working together in coalition and cooperation with one another rather than in secret competitions. And so I've been working on trying to put something together like that for some time, but because I am far away from New York at the moment, but because I'll be here for at least another 2 months if I manage to survive this and get well. I've been working with Lucian on this for some time. So Lucian knows what we're trying to do, and he also is closer to, for example, the money that comes from some of the Biden programs that might be helpful in something like this. So he's in better position to take the ball forward for the moment, and I myself hope that the universe will bless me so I can come back and actually participate on community board in Manhattan in person. So Lucian, take the thing forward.
Thank you, Bob. I just want to say that I first met Bob Schneck. I was at a borough board meeting with my supervisor, the land use division of Gail Brewer's office, and Bob came up to me and Basha Gerhards, and he said, "Listen, I do a lot of work with this thing called Passive House, and it can revolutionize the way that buildings work. And I think that this is something that Gail can take the lead on." And so we said, "Look, hey, let's sit down and talk about it." So we went to a meeting room, and he showed us everything, and we helped him present it to Borough Board. The Borough Board had a resolution saying this is great. Community Board 11 said, "We love this. We're going to have a resolution saying that we want Passive House." And then when this giant plot of land became available for redevelopment in East Harlem, the Community Board said, one of our principles is that it should, if the developer can make it Passive House, it should get the most amount of points. And now the largest Passive House residential building in North America is just about to be finished in East Harlem. So I just want to just illustrate that example of how community boards and activism can create these outcomes. And that's important today because this committee is a forum where there's a lot of people who come here today to join us, and they may have come because of the joint fund. They may have come because of Rite Aid, but hopefully they'll take back a little bit of information about retrofits and the need for retrofits in Battery Park City. This is very narrowly tailored to Battery Park City. In fact, we're going to be just looking at the Battery Park City Sustainability Plan. It is a really well put together plan. But first I want to start with what precipitated a lot of this, and that is compliance. Local Law 97 passed in 2019. It is a law that seeks to help buildings understand what their environmental profile is, and then creates timelines for when these buildings need to, hit certain standards, or else violations will be forthcoming. So that's starting in 2025. So it's important that we talk about this because the buildings in Battery Park City, even though many are LEED rated, they are not achieving the standards set forth by Local Law 97. And that's going to take a mix of mostly structural change via retrofitting building systems. And it will also take some effort on behalf of the tenants of the buildings to change their own profiles and how they use greenhouse gas producing systems in their own apartments. So we're going to look at a little bit of both of these. And then in the context of the sustainability plan, which really did a good job of mapping out different timelines, and then also taking a look at some real opportunities that came through the Inflation Reduction Act. So with that, Justine, did you have
Just a
anything?
quick question. You said the
Sure.
buildings would need to be retrofitted, the building itself? What does that mean? Or does that mean
So
something different for
there's-
each building?
Well, it depends on the mix. There's a lot of different types of retrofits. There's replacing building systems. You may have some gas-fired furnaces, water boilers in the buildings that could be converted to electricity. There could be the need to reclad the entire building to run different building systems, depending on how radical the need is or how far the condo board is willing to go.
Or
Yeah.
how much money they can collect to do it?
How much they collect to do it, and there's certainly a cost benefit here, and I think that with hopefully the Inflation Reduction Act will unlock enough subsidies to move us into feasibility. Hopefully NYSERDA's work to do retrofits in other parts of the city and state are going to bring down the costs of the retrofits by achieving economies of scale. You know, these are all things that need to happen, right? I mean, rooftop solar and energy storage, you know, the cost per kilowatt hour has come down incredibly from 15 years ago to present, almost competitive or more competitive than, you know, power generated via coal or gas fired plants, right? So these things can happen, and the question is, where are we in this continuum of moving? Now, luckily, buildings should not be just jumping first right into capital improvement. There is the way the Battery Park City worked with NYSERDA to map it out is that there's a phase for self-study. There has to be a phase where you bring in experts to look and say, you know, what options do you have, right? So let's just take a quick walk through. There's 3 different documents that the Battery Park City Authority has put out. They have the sustainability plan, they have an implementation plan, and a third one, and I'll show you all 3 of them and where to find them, as well as a presentation that Gwen Dawson gave about each buildings and where it stands. So I'm going to present you with a lot of information. So first, I'm going to go to page 21 of this document. Here we go. So there's a couple of different. I'm focusing on energy. This sustainability plan talks about water retention, you know, storm water. I'm just focusing on energy, greenhouse gas. Deep energy retrofits, upgrade building facades, windows, mechanical systems to reduce building energy consumption and costs, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and meet NYC building emissions compliance targets ahead of the current deadlines. So the target for Battery Park City, the authority puts out, is that all buildings operational emissions will be below the local law 97 targets by 2029. This is the important timeline. I think not knowing kind of what the different building managers have been doing doesn't allow me to tell this committee where everyone falls on this. You know, this certainly is primarily an organizational challenge, and it will take a really big effort to herd these cats through this process, because every condo board is going to feel differently about this, which is why there's such a big stick in this. There's the carrot and the stick. The stick is probably going to be the bigger motivator here, but monitoring is the next big waypoint. 2024, the authority imagine that 75% of buildings would be monitoring real-time energy consumption.
Okay, wait, I'm gonna
26,
ask you a question there.
Yes.
Stop right there. So the buildings are gonna monitor energy consumption? Is that something that someone
yeah,
who is,
real-time monitoring takes a lot of forms. Con Edison's been upgrading their meters to be real-time. That was a really big push a couple of years ago, and I don't know how far they've gotten, but I think in our district they've gotten pretty far. So it's possible for electricity and gas. So that's a big part of it. Whether or
how
not
would the
each,
building do it? The building then, like,
well, I mean, some of this information is collected in aggregate.
Okay.
So I don't know how the building access is profiled. The city produces grades based on what the building's energy use is. So the aggregate is available. I don't know if the building can request its own aggregate. That's a step I haven't taken yet. I'm on the board of my own co-op, so it's something I could certainly be interested in as well.
Okay.
But you're monitoring gas consumption in aggregate, monitoring electricity consumption in aggregate, and then of course water is already metered, and it's always has been metered. So that's easy to understand. Whether or not there are other building systems, and Bob, Bob is also heavily involved in the field of monitoring building systems and performance. But there could also be other types of monitoring, and that could be leakage. And leakage is a big thing in the passive house sector, because the energy that goes through your windows, because you're not insulated, because the windows are faulty, or any other kind of avenue for energy to come out of the building, that could be monitored. There are ways to monitor that, but I don't know if that's what's contemplated in this plan. 2026, just keeping moving, all buildings have a retrofit plan. So they're contemplating that by 26, everyone has had their audits done. They've had consultants prepare the options. They've looked at the field and said, here's what we can do. And then in 2029 is what according to this part here, the operational emissions will have been lowered. So that's what I see as being effectively everything is in place. It depends on, each building is different. Some buildings, they've failed for different reasons, and that will certainly, affect what sorts of strategies they're going to be using. Electrification, this is another set. This is transition building heating, hot water, and cooking equipment away from fossil fuel equipment and towards electric equipment to enable greenhouse gas reductions. Natural gas fired boilers and furnaces. That's the big systemic culprit. But we're going to see a mass migration away from cooking with gas as well. A big part of the Inflation Reduction Act is providing subsidies to individual homeowners to upgrade their power outlets for their ranges, and also buy electric ranges. Induction is probably going to be the big kind of the way for New Yorkers who are used to using gas, who enjoy cooking with gas because of the control. I'm one of them. Gas, even inside, we know has horrible implications for indoor air quality. It's 12% of childhood asthma cases are attributed to cooking with gas inside. There's going to be a big push to find what is the magic bullet to replace gas use. Induction is likely going to be that, high control for heat, but it does require 220 voltage. So, but there are subsidies available for upgrading voltage lines and purchasing new ranges. So I'll talk about that a little bit. So next is the greenhouse gas emissions monitoring and reporting. Prioritize actions that reduce greenhouse gas emissions and move Battery Park City towards this goal of being carbon neutral. Again, these are just parts of this plan, and they have timelines. I'm just trying to socialize everyone with this part of the sustainability plan as it relates to the health of buildings and your environmental profiles. But it really will require a lot of you who are interested to dive a little deeper on your own. So let me just go to implementation. So this page here, NYSERDA highlighted. I don't know. I can't see. Here it is. Okay. So page 19. Okay. So conduct deep energy retrofits of buildings in Battery Park City. So implementation steps. This is just going to give everyone a taste of who's responsible, of what the time frames are, just to kind of allow you to wrap your heads around it a little bit. Develop a building survey and standard documentation, request to disseminate to building owners. You know, BPCA, they may have already done this. Collect building information, provide a response to the BPCA survey, the building owners and managers. I'm trying to jump ahead to something that's a little bit juicier. Develop a request for information to identify qualified equipment vendors for bulk procurement of retrofit technology, BPCA. Bulk procurement, that's telling us that there's plans in place. There's a framework here for buildings to work together to achieve economies of scale. Buildings who have similar needs, buildings that have similar systems that need to be replaced. If you're going to, you know, bring the trucks out and custom build the systems, do it all at the same time. You know, this is kind of why this presentation is so important, why Bob was pushing for it, is because these buildings need to be talking with each other, and BPCA, the community board, all together, the community, you know, we need to facilitate as much conversation around this, because that's what's going to bring this is going to catalyze movement on it, is the bulk procurement. Lead by example. The BPCA is going to start refitting its own spaces. You know, I'm sure we'll be hearing about that, whether it's already in place or what they're doing, but they'll certainly learn a lot in that process. Still, there's even more that's going on here. Integrate indoor environmental quality and occupant health, comfort in the building retrofit training programs. I'm sorry, you all can hear my son talking in the background. So I want you all just to read through that. That's one. Technical support, guidance has its own section. Environmental quality, indoor environmental quality. We went over that for the use of gas and other things like that. Facilitate access to financing, technical support programs, there's Mrs. Window, and incentives to achieve cost-effective retrofits. This is something that I think is on everyone's mind. This is making sure that everyone who needs to be talking with NYSERDA is talking with NYSERDA at a high level. The NYSERDA is activated and looking at modifying plans to achieve economies of scale within Battery Park City, to make sure that their programs are being used effectively, to make sure that Battery Park City is getting access to the funds that have been made available by the Inflation Reduction Act for these retrofits. That's going to be really important. And last, there's all the resources here, including a lot of the NYSERDA's programs in this document. So I'm just going to move through. Okay.
So Nick, Nick, Lucian, you've got the link of it in the chat, right? But it's also on the Battery Park City Authority's website.
Yes, it's the sustainability tab. When you go to the Battery Park City, and I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, but I know you're talking, so keep talking.
Yeah. So for energy, this is kind of a one-page heads up on what they're trying to achieve. The gray is the baseline, the 79% reduction. That's what they're trying to get. This is the 2050 plan. It's going to be a big task, and it's going to be really difficult. And we need to help the authority with this. Everybody, you know, our elected officials, NYSERDA, because Battery Park City is kind of unique in that it has this governmental apparatus that can provide specialty assistance whereas everyone else is kind of on their own, the rest of the city. So whether or not that's going to crack the code, we have yet to see. The last thing I'm going to pull up, I just printed made a PDF of the website, but the DOE has said that what they're transferred money to the states. The states are administering the money, which is typical. And I just wanted to highlight this one. Really jumped out at me. The home energy performance-based whole house rebates for energy efficiency retrofits range from $2,000 to $4,000 for individual households, and up to $400,000 for multifamily buildings.
Wow.
That's a lot of money. And just there's a little chart here to see how much New York got. So the first column is home energy performance-based whole house rebate allocations. The next is high efficiency electric home rebate allocations. And then we just go to New York. So
Wow.
this is a lot of money. The Inflation Reduction Act has also authorized the Department of Energy to, I think, have like a revolving credit, like $60 billion for lending at low interest rates. So I'm sure they're developing programs for that as well. I expect to see New York State find a way to access that as well for retrofits. But that's, in a nutshell, what we're looking at. Now, Bob has a lot of information about what they're doing in Europe, some really impressive retrofit strategies that they've employed. Bob, what's the name of the program that's so cool that they pipe everything, all the new systems through the cladding that they put just on the exterior of the building?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so the thing is, I've been very involved with passive house people for a long time, so we could have representatives talk about some of this stuff. I had movies ready to go a year and a half ago for this. I think one of the important things is the educational part of this. People should be aware of what's going on. The thing that's most important to me is time. The awareness of global warming started during the Carter administration, and there have been opportunities every year since then to do something about it. And now we actually have catastrophic climate problems that are coming to us because we've ignored this all this time. And the reason that all this is so expensive is because we've ignored it, and things have gotten worse and worse. I've been working on trying to get the building standards of the state of New York changed just a little bit for a decade to get their attention, to get something done. Really difficult. But my important point here is we're running out of time, and that time now is backed up against things like Local Law 97, even in terms of penalties. But the thing to think about is future generations, that we're wasting the well-being of the future if we don't do something in the present. This is an opportunity to do something I think is very important for community boards, and that is behave like a community. So all of us should really be working together on this kind of thing. Condo boards, schools, students, individuals, condo owners, renters, everyone should care about this because it really matters. And the other thing I want to say that is really important from my point of view is that Battery Park City is a remarkable community, and we really can be a model community. And if you really carefully look at that sustainability plan, God knows how many other communities did anything like that. In the whole world, we actually have an administration that has done something remarkable and special. I think on reading it that it's impossible to pull off, but even in the pieces that Lucian showed you, there are really wonderful ideas there, and they're essential if we want to get to the future. The fact that we're working against is that the biggest problem with greenhouse gases in the city of New York is buildings. And buildings is the problem that we even the traffic we have and everything else, nothing compares with buildings is the problem. So we have really a low footprint as individuals because we use subways and we have all these other advantages and bus systems and taxi systems and even bike systems now. But what we really need is to do something about the buildings. And we have to do that. We have to start it soon. There's a lot to learn about this and it's really expensive. So I really hope we can decide as a Battery Park City community to work together on this kind of thing, to have the condominium owners and the people in charge of the buildings. I've actually spoken to several building managers when I was still in New York, and they really want to know what other buildings are doing. And I thought that Battery Park City Authority was producing an inventory of the needs of the community that we could quantify and at least have an idea how big the problem is. So anyway, all of this comes together. I thank Lucian so much for kind of bringing this, putting a voice to this. It's something I've cared about for half a decade and tried to make progress on. Lucian's commentary is a really big step forward from my point of view. So thank everyone for their time, and thank you, Lucian, for taking it forward, and thank you for Justine for the opportunity.
Thanks,
Oh,
Bob.
thank you both. Yeah, Lucian, great job. And and also the Battery Park City Authority, it was your sustainability plan. Thank you. Okay, so Nick passed that on. That was a good thing. The information's in there. But now I'm gonna call upon you. That's the way I want to say it. Call upon you to do more. And part of what I think is necessary at this point is really sitting down with the individual boards. And I know you're meeting with the building managers. I will say this, and I will say it again 100 times. The building managers alone are not enough. You got to get the boards in, and maybe we can schedule, whether it's through CB1 or Nick, you just do it. Did we lose you? No, you're there.
No,
Maybe,
can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you. Your picture disappeared.
Okay. Yeah.
We should be scheduling, I think, at this point, monthly meetings to talk about local law 97 in the buildings and to figure out, kind of help walk the buildings and the boards through that sustainability plan and what needs to be done. Now, I appreciate that each individual building is going to have different needs, but that one slide, or one page, Lucian, where you talked about $2,000 per apartment, $4,000 per building, or whatever.
400,000.
And it was a lot, and 400,000 per building.
Right.
That I think is news to everybody. Yeah, that one. That it's news to me. It shouldn't be, but it is. That is a huge thing. How do we apply for that? Who does apply for that? How does that work? This is where we need I would like the authority to hold our hand a little bit. And our hand,
Yeah.
meaning the starting with the condo owners, but it passes on to the residential buildings too, the rental buildings and the commercial buildings in Battery Park City. We can all be in the same room, or you could have staggered meetings, and because they're going to be slightly different needs. But
Yeah,
The other
Go ahead.
piece of this I wanted to mention is that there's an offering in the Battery Park City Sustainability Plan for purchases of equipment to do this in bulk, so that we can save a lot of money and get the whole thing right in the first place.
it's an offering. It's a concept. It's not an actual identification of this is the place to buy it. This is how you do it. Let's put you. It's not all together. And
Well,
and I
that's
need it to be all together.
What happens is we have to start as soon as possible to start to
Yeah.
build the operations and thinking to actually achieve this. And
No, that would be
if
great.
people are interested in, kind of being educated how this kind of thing is done in Europe, that's available too. But at least people should know at least the basic principles of things like passive house and efficient buildings and fighting greenhouse gases in buildings. All that is possible, so people can understand what's trying to happen here. And if we want to save the climate for the future and our children, we have to do something now. And this includes the plans for resiliency
Yep.
and flooding. Unless you stop the greenhouse gases, those problems are just going to get worse.
Of course. Lucian and then Jeff?
Thanks, Justine. I'll just only add that uh, clearly, this plan was put out before the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act,
Yes.
before the Biden administration. So, NYSERDA has different resources available to it, especially the transfer of this money from the Department of Energy and some of the other portions of this program that haven't been put in place yet. I think that certainly a conversation is ripe to be had between NYSERDA and the Battery Park City Authority to kind of update the plan and maybe some of the what the offerings are, since there's a lot of money moving here, and that the buildings within Battery Park City Authority really have, since this plan is in place already, really have first mover advantage if this money is finite to access it, because Local Law 97 is the law, and that date isn't moving anytime that I can see. So certainly there's a real impetus to get going. But if the money's there, and free money is always the best kind of money, especially when you're dealing with the physical plant, because sometimes building system's old as it is and it needs replacement. Why not upgrade it and have free money to do it? And so that's something else that condo boards should be keeping in mind as well. So with that, I'm going to be done.
Thank you, Lucian. Go ahead, Jeff.
Wanted to say a couple of things. First of all, I think Local Law 97 was really a tremendous milestone for New York City, even though it's all going to be hitting all of us residents and business owners in the pocketbook in the not too distant future, but it's for a worthy and important goal. And I wanted to thank the authority for putting together a sustainability plan. I noticed throughout the plan pages that Lucian was showing, there was kind of a little catchphrase of BPCA led on various pages. And I think it would be helpful to have a BPCA presentation to probably this committee. It might be environmental, but since it is specific to Battery Park City, maybe it's a joint presentation to kind of update us on where this plan sits. The timeline that Lucian showed indicates that lots of planning should be going on right now among the buildings in terms of defining needs, monitoring, and so forth, so that they can be in a position to actually implement the capital improvements by 2029 was the goal of the plan. And Justine, to your point of the involvement of the boards, I think that further communication in a public forum like this of what the plan is, what we as a board should perhaps be advocating or communicating in order to achieve these plans, and to suffer. It may very well be a model for other parts of the city, including the rest of CB1, in terms of how to achieve these goals, which are not trivial to achieve. I mean, a lot of people are going to wake up in 2030 with large penalties being added to their common charges or to their rents or whatever, and ideally that can be avoided. So I guess my basic suggestion is that I think a presentation to help us get the lay of the land on where we are and what can we do to help push this process forward would be in order.
That would be great. I think that makes sense, and it's really 100% necessary. Go ahead, Betty.
I agree with Lucian. I think it's important to push the authority, at least go on record. We may not need to push them at all, but go on record with them updating their plan, given the funds that have come through very recently. Because that, at least the central resource is more up to date, and that would be an important point. In terms of what needs to be done, I think a lot of people may be way underestimating what's already been done with their buildings. So my other recommendation is go to your own building and find out what's going on. That's gonna be a lot tougher for renters because you don't really have a say in what the owners do or don't do. But in the condos, I know my condo board's last year's annual meeting very much freed up the engineering reports that had been done. They'd already finished them a year ago. As far as updates or changes, they meet again next week. So hopefully, I'll hear more of what's going on with them at this particular moment. But it was very clear from the engineering report, it was very specific to the building and very specific to the decisions they chose to make, given who lived in the building, because some of them weren't decisions that I would have made. So it is very unique in many ways, and don't underestimate that.
Yeah, no, that is, I didn't want to interrupt you. That is really well said, Betty. That's a really important point. And I think that's part of why I think that the authority, I like Battery Park City Authority led. I like the idea of having some sort of oversight and some sort of help with kind of herding cats, because that's what you're going to have in your building. You've done that. That's wonderful. Pat Smith has said, I haven't seen him on the call, but he has spoken what he's done to get his building up to a B or a B plus, and that's one way to know where your building stands. What's the letter outside, stuck on your door? But there are other buildings that are not there. And
mine isn't.
yeah, I mean, no, but you're working, you've taken steps to work towards it. And then you have to worry about the rental buildings, and the tenants do matter, right? And they need to know. But I will say that's where also the authority needs to lead, because you are the landlord and you don't want the
Justine,
left. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
can I
Tammy. I'm
interrupt
gonna
you
call on you.
on the rental building for a sec?
Say what?
I want to interrupt you just on the
Yes,
rental
go ahead,
building.
go ahead.
You get something about the interpretation of the law and the requirements for the BPCA. For example, Gateway Plaza now charges for water on every single solitary place. So the toilets, the showers, the sinks, in any place that water runs to a tenant's apartment, Gateway now charges for. And their answer when the query was, why is there water charges? They said, oh, this is part of the Battery Park City Authority's plans to be more resilient and climate friendly to lower water usage. So I do think that a discussion on how the outcome comes to renters is also a question, because there is, other than gas, which Gateway still provides, they don't provide any electric.
No.
They now don't provide any water, and they charge, a good amount for everything. You can't literally flush a toilet without being charged for it, unless you're a quasi under the rent stabilization program, which has until 2030 has that eliminated. So I think that's something that needs to be said. If I
It does
have been
need to be
told
said.
myself that it was done at the behest of the requirements from the Battery Park City Authority, I might have been a little bit more suspect, but.
Wow. No, I mean, I find that outrageous. And I also find it interesting that well, my comment is, I think that's Lefrak's interpretation of the Battery Park City Authority's sustainability
Very
plan.
well said, but it is
Yeah.
something that should be clarified if
It
that's
needs
the
to be,
case.
yeah, it needs to be clarified, and that's worthwhile having the conversation about, focused specifically on Gateway, and asking for the authority's help in kind of policing that a little bit, or monitoring it, or talking with them, because I wonder what the other rental buildings are doing, right? I think I'm going to get it wrong, but there's 18 condos, soon to be one co-op.
We can absolutely ask what's going on at 50 and 70, and including in the condo buildings that have large numbers of rentals, there's positioning that could be questioned. So yes.
I think those are things that we should look at. And Jeff, if your hand is still raised, yes, you can just unmute yourself and jump in.
Yeah, no, as some of you know, I'm part of the Tenants Board Executive Committee at Gateway, and we've raised the water issue with management. And I don't recall the explanation being blamed on the authority as so much as being blamed on Local Law 97, which is probably true in the sense that if it probably does help the grade to reduce water consumption, and at least according to management, since they've been charging for water, the consumption has gone way down. I find that somewhat difficult to believe but that's what they say. And that has resulted in the improvement of the environmental grade. But the broader point that I wanted to make is that compliance with local law 97 will be paid for in residential buildings by the residents of those buildings, whether they are condo or rental. And the condo buildings, you're going to pay for it directly. In rental buildings, the landlord's going to pass along to the tenants. And so it's something we need, and that's not unique to Battery Park City. That's throughout New York City, the residents of buildings will pay for compliance with local law 97. That was the political bargain struck in favor of climate resiliency. And so it's something that we need to accept. That doesn't mean that we need to accept charges passed along under the guise of local law 97 compliance. But it does behoove us as a community to make sure that the compliance is done in a cost-effective way, because whether it is the capital improvements or the operational changes, which may raise expenses, or the penalties that will be imposed in 2030 and beyond when buildings fail to meet the standards, residents will pay for it. It's just the reality. That's where the money comes from.
For the money,
and so it's important to do it right, is my basic point.
no, that makes sense. And I guess I will put a point of a comment to you and Tammy on that. So charging the tenant extra for water as a fine before the fines come into place to
Not a
get
fine.
the water.
Not a
No,
fine.
it's not. But wait, until the fine, 2030, when the fines come into place to get the water consumption down. How about if LEFRAC is telling you, this is what I'd want to hear, we're charging this extra money so that we could then retrofit your toilets, because it's not your, you don't.
Oh, they've already retrofitted the toilets.
The
for
toilets to push the two buttons to make for every apartment, even the rent stabilized
Not
ones.
that type of, but it is a water efficient, much more water efficient.
Water efficient is done, and then pay for the water efficient showers, which I can't stand.
I don't want to get bogged down in gateway specific things, because
No,
it's really the
but-
broader point of whatever is done in any building will cost money, both the operational changes and the retrofits. And as those, as well as the operational changes are things that are, I'm not advocating delaying compliance until 2030. If we can get compliance in 2023, it should be done, for the climate. And I think we need to recognize that residents will pay for it. There's no other source of the money other than Uncle Sam. And so we need to make sure that we
No, that makes sense,
all
but
take benefit of Uncle Sam's money or any other subsidy directed to that. But we are no more, as residents of Battery Park City, entitled to that money than any other resident of the state.
Correct. No, that's correct. And that's going to bring us to the next conversation. And I guess my only point on the water was collect an extra charge from the residents to use that money to do something is what I would be arguing if I lived there. But you're right, it's too micromanaging. I think we're done with this. I didn't see any attendees' hands raised. I see other hands raised. Thank you so much again, Lucian and Bob. And this is a good segue into our last topic. Lucian, if you could pull it up, which is the Joint Purpose Fund. And maybe you put Jill back into this if she's, Kelly's hand is raised. Let me hear from Kelly if you're talking about this quick. So sorry, I didn't see you until this second. Go ahead, Kelly. You're unmuted. I can't hear you, but you're unmuted. Okay, you disappeared now. Hand is raised. You're unmuted. So just speak, Kelly. All right. If you're having technical difficulties, I don't know what to tell you. But I can't hear you. Can anybody hear?
He can chat Lucian and Lucian will help him.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So we're going to just move on. And then Kelly, yes, you can speak to whatever you wanted to say when you can speak. We want to move on to the next issue, which is the CB1 position on the Joint Purpose Fund priorities. And yeah, thank you, Jill, for being here too, because I know we're going to talk about 5 World Trade Center as one of them, and you can help represent that. But Lucian, maybe pull up. Earlier today, we shared a draft resolution that we put together with some ideas, and we should just go through it and make sure that everybody's okay with it. I don't know who had a chance. I know Jeff looked at it and made some suggestions, and I'm almost wanting to go to his suggestion. I don't even know if that makes sense, but
There's some
Jeff,
comments on the document that some discussion. So
Yeah.
I don't exactly want to pull that up because
Okay.
I think I don't want to show the discussion on it. But all
Fair.
those who looked at it can certainly opine now on the record.
Perfect. And so we'll go, because I know Jeff made some changes, most of which were fine. They were like spelling or issues and just a little bit of wording. But there's also,
Just for clarification, the version that we are working from is the one before I made changes on it?
Yeah, yeah. I because I didn't accept any of the changes before there's a chance to discuss everything.
okay, so
So Jeff, if you could just work from if you open the Google Doc on your screen, you can work from and look at the substantial proposed changes and just talk those through to the committee. And I'll accept all the ones with where you pointed out some of the
where I said, okay, yeah, but let's make
typos.
sure everybody's okay. And then there was a couple of questions, but so how is best to do this? Should we go through each whereas? I mean, I think this is simple to read and go through it all. Battery Park City Authority is a public benefit corporation. We know that. BPCA collects ground rents, pilot and civic fees. We know that. Okay, now the Joint Purpose Fund, let's talk about that, is defined as a percentage of the balance of monies from the don't go too fast. I can't read it that fast. Okay, there you go. Monies the BPCA's various income streams, such as ground rent and payment in lieu of taxes, both paid by residents and also commercial, and civic fees. The remaining after the BPCA covers the cost as maintenance, programming, operations, capital projects, and debt service. This percentage is calculated every year based on the relationship between the pilot and ground rent collected. Do people have questions about what the Joint Purpose Fund is? Raise your hand if you do. And somebody who's participants, I got to look at the attendee sections.
Well, Justine, can I clarify?
Yeah, please. And then yes, because you made some changes even before this.
Yeah, but I want to make sure that I understand what the Joint Purpose Fund is in terms of the relationship between pilot and ground rent. If I understand what the resolution is referring to is that, well, just back to basics, the Battery Park City Authority collects a pot of money.
Correct.
From
maybe do the slides while Jeff is talking, Lucia.
Yeah, those slides probably would be helpful.
Yeah, the slides from the presentation from the BPCA.
Yep. Incoming.
Yeah.
1 second.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead, Jeff. Keep going.
Okay, so that the Battery Park City Authority collects money from the commercial buildings and the residential buildings, the two biggest pots of which are pilot, which is effectively property tax, and ground rent.
Oh,
and
two
so
different things are pilot and ground rent. Yeah.
that's what I said.
Yeah.
So let's see. Show the slide where it's the revenue stream. I think it was one before that.
Yeah, keep going up.
There, that's it.
Ah,
That's
right
it.
there.
So 81% is pilot, which is set by the city and is functionally property tax, and 15% is ground rent. And if I understand the percentage of the that defines the Joint Purpose Fund, it's that ratio of ground rent to pilot. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. And I don't know
so-
why
so
they said
it-
19. Maybe it's only 15%.
It differs presumably every year.
Yeah.
Slightly. And so effectively, the Joint Purpose Fund is kind of an allocation of this revenue stream that's kind of tied to the ground rent as opposed to tied to the pilot. And there is an agreement reached periodically among the city and the state, basically the mayor's office, controller's office, and the Battery Park City Authority as to what to do with this joint purpose fund. And the last agreement that was reached in 2010, and it allocated various shares of this fund to various purposes, including just general New York City purposes, as well as to affordable housing throughout New York City. That fund has now been spent, and so the authority and the city is in the process of negotiating what to do for the next tranche of special purpose fund. And the authority has
Using the word
welcomed our input into what we want to say about what we think that money should be looked for. What the board had asked for in our resolution a little over a year ago was not just take our input, but give us an actual seat at the table with representatives from the board and residents in the discussions. That latter request was not honored, but the authority is still soliciting and says they will listen to our priorities for what that money should be spent for. And so my understanding is this resolution really has kind of two purposes. One is to complain about not having a seat at the table and to continue to ask for a seat at the table. But the other, whether or not we have a seat at the table, is to identify what we want this money to be allocated for.
Correct.
Justine put together this draft based on previous discussions that we've all had in the committee. I've made some suggested edits. By and large, they were not substantive. They had the intention of making them a little less combative.
And
Just a difference in personality between me
Yes.
and Justine. Rather than, I don't want to get hung up on the stylistic changes, but perhaps we should, most of the resolution in the whereas is intended, I think, to indicate what we as a community board think this fund should be used for. And as you'll see, a good chunk of it is affordable housing in various incarnations. But I think Marianne Braverman had a good suggestion of perhaps also designating some funds to facilitate community-friendly retail as well, because we hear it's really very similar to the affordable housing point, is that if you let market forces alone dictate the kind of retail that can afford the rents that are commanded in this location, you get Prada and Fendi and who knows who else, but you don't get very many Rite Aids or Picasso pizzas or other things. I don't know how such a subsidy could work in practice. I could see all sorts of pitfalls, but I think Marianne's comment was a good one, and perhaps it's something we should consider adding to this resolution.
No, that's a good point. As we're, maybe pull the resolution back up again, Lucian. Gets the beginning part of it, just keep going, because that's all beginning part here, just talks about, again, the commitment's going to be cumulative, explains the history of it. And as you said, Jeff, that it's finished. They've fulfilled the commitments under the 2010 amendment to the settlement agreement. And now they are starting to go forward. And what was announced in the December Battery Park City Authority meeting was that meetings have gone forward. There've been meetings between the BPCA, the governor, the mayor, and the comptroller's office. They've had meetings, they've had discussions, and so far the discussions have centered around affordable housing, which we make a note here that based on the information from that meeting, we applaud that. We're happy about affordable housing. There's such a need for it. But as we keep going, we talk about why we think a portion of the money should be allocated. We've talked about this. Some portion of it should come back to Battery Park City in terms of affordable housing, and some portion of it, if you go down lower, it should come back to, or should go to, this is my suggestion, we have to vote on it as a committee, but should go towards 5 World Trade Center. Another portion of it we should talk about, I think we should mention, because of the point that we are a full, it's not just Battery Park City. We're not talking about the Joint Purpose Fund to be used only in Battery Park City or only for 5 World Trade Center. We're saying we also want to look at affordable housing in Lower Manhattan, because one of the things that we have learned is that the socioeconomic and racial diversity of Lower Manhattan has been dovetailing in the wrong direction. So a portion of this money could go to creating affordable housing that is mixed income buildings to address that. A portion of the housing can go to keeping, and then this is and putting that specifically to Lower Manhattan, because it's the Joint Purpose Fund that is funded by people who live in Battery Park City. It should be focused on Battery Park City and affordable housing in Lower Manhattan, and that's my basic focus here. So if you look at the whereases to see what we're saying,
Well, I mean,
that's my pitch.
So I quibble with the word focused. I mean, as I went through the draft, with one exception, I didn't change any of the substantive requests, and I'm mollified with your response on the one exception. I think we have to recognize that there is validity in the kind of bang for the buck argument that many people make for spending this money outside of Battery Park City and outside of Lower Manhattan. If the objective is to achieve affordable housing to benefit the maximum number of people, building it downtown is one of the worst places to build it, because the costs here, you could build many more units of affordable housing if you were building elsewhere compared to building down here. But that doesn't mean zero down here. And it doesn't mean that this money, that after all comes from the residents and businesses located in Battery Park City, that's who's funding this money, shouldn't also be used to preserve and enhance the community downtown. And I think that objective supports using a portion of this funding to subsidize affordability in the way that the resolution contemplates. In Battery Park City, it justifies using the money to subsidize affordable housing at 5 World Trade Center and elsewhere in Lower Manhattan. But I don't think that we can lose sight of the fact that it is appropriate to spend money. If what we want is affordable housing, if that's our goal, you can get a lot more of it outside of Lower Manhattan than you can get it in Manhattan for the same dollars.
So I will call on Jill to speak, but first I want to respond. So that is a position to take, and I would recommend, from my perspective, it's a picture that has gone forward and has been a strategy that has been pursued in New York City, especially in Lower Manhattan, for years and years and years. And we are now suffering through the failed result of that policy. I hear you, but I tell you that we need to do something different. So as far as real estate developers and builders are concerned, right? They want to make as much money as possible, fine. But basically, why are we paying people? Why are we paying developers? Whether it's and the names that come to my mind are Brookfield, Silverstein, whatever. But there's so many more, so it's not. I'm not picking on them. That's just what comes to my head. But why are we paying them to build market rate housing? They'll pay it. They'll build it anyway. What we want to do is encourage them to be building a more socioeconomically diverse
But we're not using the joint
Housing.
purchase fund to pay them to build market rate housing.
No, we're not. But what I'm saying, well, okay, if you look at what's in here is saying, let's build affordable housing in Lower Manhattan because we are at a point now where we are just not socioeconomically diverse and we're not
I'm
racially
not
diverse.
disagreeing with that. I'm just quibbling with focusing it.
I
on that,
hear you,
because
but there's
if,
value.
if you want
Can we let
affordable
Jill
housing,
go?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's let
hi.
Jill go.
Okay, I have the greatest respect for Jeff and could not disagree with him more. Um, the, what has happened in this community is that renters are priced out. And so all this money is from this community is going outside of it. Our role as a community board is to advocate for our community. The role of the Battery Park City Committee is to advocate for Battery Park City. I'd like to see some of this money go to help renters, existing people. I'm not prepared to come up with a plan off the cuff, but this is in addition to Five World Trade Center. I'm talking very specifically about seniors in this community, longtime residents.
and the resolution includes that, and I don't disagree with that at all.
But I think that, are we just quibbling, Jeff, over the word focus?
Yes,
So it's really,
which I don't think is in the resolution, actually. Justine just said it.
all right, so I don't think we need to have this quibble or quabble, because
Yes, I didn't make any changes in the resolution from Justine based on what I just said. The only changes, I made one change that I won't even talk about because I agree with Justine on it. The only other changes I made were in tone, but not in the substance.
the other argument I would add is that this community, as we well know, and I'm talking specifically about Battery Park City. We have beautiful parks. We have great schools. We're close to the transportation hubs. There is a need for all neighborhoods to have affordable housing in them. And particularly in a neighborhood like this, having access to affordable housing is very important. So, yeah,
I don't disagree with that at
right.
all.
I know. And that's why I say I have the greatest respect for you, Jeff. I really do. It is cheaper to build, say, neighborhoods in the Bronx than downtown. Part of that is because of all the luxury housing that's gone up here. And landlords have taken advantage of it in this neighborhood. Let's be real. They have, the rental buildings have been gone over to condo. We all know the Gateway story. So the fact is, this money is going out of our community and is not helping it, and our community is losing or any real semblance of affordability. So that's what I have to say on that.
I don't disagree. I was quibbling with the word that Justine used in her oral presentation, and also just making the point. I mean, the resolution calls for this fund to be used for affordable housing throughout New York City. And actually, the one change that I suggested was to kind of reduce the throughout New York City, but Justine convinced me to put it back in. But it also calls for affordable housing specifically at Five World Trade Center and within Battery Park City, exactly along the lines of what you were just saying, Jill.
I think focus, if the word's not in there, I don't think we need to have the discussion, but I certainly agree with the concept of focus. Justine, you're muted.
Thank you. The reason why, and then Tammy, I'll call on you. Give me a second. The reason why I said the word focus is because I did add, which it's new. I'm looking to see what the heck, where I put it. Did it come up, Lucian? Oh my God. Not that. That's not what I said. Not that. Sorry. Give me a
Justine,
second.
I'm going to try
Don't,
to.
no,
grab
don't
through
shit.
it.
You know what part I'm talking about, right? What I put in the chat wasn't it. And so the part I'm saying, what I was going to add is CB1 strongly urges that a percentage of the joint purpose fund be permanently allocated to creating affordable mixed income housing in Lower Manhattan to increase the socioeconomic and racial diversity in Lower Manhattan. So that is not in what you saw earlier today. I added it after the fact. And I would stick it in right after we talk about NYCHA.
Do we want to add then also that background that the you know, that this neighborhood has, you know, beautiful parks, excellent schools, great resources that should not just be for luxury owners?
I don't know if it makes sense in here because we're just saying what we want them to do. So if we had a seat at the table, these would be conversations and insights we could be adding. We don't have the seat at the table, but I'm open to the suggestion. To hold tight with that suggestion, and Tammy, I don't want to keep you quiet for too long.
No worries. It's no one, you know, I don't need to be heard from at all the time. So I'd love to hear a variety of voices in the discussion. It's always good. A reminder for those who are here that membership applications are open. And if you need to renew or you need to apply, please do. But my point was kind of to agree with Marianne Braverman that one of the things that has been shown in local conversation is perhaps there is a need to develop through some of the overage, because it is a lot of money, not only beyond 5 World Trade, kind of is the point that without additional revenue streams, affordable housing in Lower Manhattan will be impossible. So it's really good to push for it. I'm down 100% with all of that. But I also think that for locations that are not covered by the Downtown Alliance bid, and there is a large portion of Community Board 1 that is not, that we could take a look at maybe having some small business development and support from the overage of the money. Because one of the things that you see throughout Tribeca, in parts of the Seaport, definitely in the Civic Center, and the parts that are devastated around Northern Tribeca Civic Center, and even Battery Park City, is there's no small business support anywhere around here. And that was, when I first moved down here, one of the main characters of Tribeca was all the varieties of small businesses, the lack of chains. And perhaps this is one of the opportunities that can be used as an economic generator for support for those systems. So that is my only 2 points: affordable housing, affordable housing, affordable housing in our neighborhood, in our neighborhood, in our neighborhood. And that is, neighborhood to me is all of CB1. And with that, thank you. I will shut up.
No, thank you, Tammy. I agree. Okay, so Jill and Betty, or Betty actually first, and then Jill finish up, and then we have to get to Kelly too. Hopefully he's fixed his audio problems, but go ahead. Betty first, then Jill. You're muted, Betty. You're muted.
I want you to Kelly first, since he was supposed to have
Oh.
spoken a while ago.
Okay, Kelly, can you unmute yourself? And Orwell, can you? There you go. Kelly? I still can't hear you, Kelly.
Yeah, I don't see a mic.
I don't see a mic either. I don't see it. Where is he? Still can't hear you. Oh my God.
Oh, now I see the mic. Well,
Let's see if he's just not there. Well, he had to unmute himself.
yeah, no, it's a flashing mic, but it's red, so it's
It's
still
muted somehow.
Yeah, the icon that's missing refers to like whatever is piping in his sound, and if that's not there, he can't do
It's
sound.
not going to work.
So
Okay.
until it comes
Maybe
back,
hang
we'll,
up
we'll
and
keep
call back
checking.
in. Hang up and call back in again, Kelly. And Michelle, I'm going to wait for you because I'm assuming you raised your hand in this conversation. So then I'll let Betty talk. Yeah, I know.
Well, let me start with the more positive thing I have to say. Since there were suggestions about what could be used in the community, one of the things I would say is I'm going to stick up for the people with mobility or other disability problems. I can't find dentists that have bathrooms that are accessible. If there's any space available where there can be new enough facilities that they're accessible. They're not little closets with a single door on them. That is the big asset that is completely missing from Lower Manhattan. You want to know about something that's really missing? Believe me, it's not pharmacies, it's not groceries, it's not anything as much as accessible doctors and dentists. And the doctors are in a lot better shape than the dentists. So anyway, that was just to bring that up, but I know that it came up previously because I remember Laura Starr talking about it, I guess around World Trade 5, the discussion. Otherwise, I want to say I will vote against the resolution. I'm going to go with Jeff's point is really important to me, and with all due respect, Jill, I want more people housed rather than who can live and be my neighbor and I can know that I'm subsidizing them. So if I start having trouble paying my bills, I can look at them and say, you're the one that's screwing me over so that I can no longer afford to live here because you can afford to live here. I want arm's length distance from the people who are being funded for their housing. I don't need to know who it is, and they don't need to know which community is their benefactor. I feel very strongly about that.
Very much money.
It's not a matter of that. It's like I've lived in a lot of places that you obviously are dismissing as not worth living in, because why build affordable housing on those? Because they're not as good as Battery Park City. People like their neighborhoods. I used to live in places where people always look down on, how could you live there? Well, I lived there perfectly fine. And I had lots of people around me that I liked and they liked the neighborhood. So I wish you weren't as negative all the time. But also I'm concerned because Community Board 1, like any other community board, is to influence elected officials. I was thinking, why would we think we would sit at the table with elected officials? To do what? To vote with them? And who would I want to do it? As the every person that lives in Battery Park City. And I couldn't come up with a description of somebody I would see as the Battery Park City person sitting there that I thought everyone will agree they really solved the problem of what they want. I don't see the real benefits of it that people seem to be harping on as this is going to make a big difference. So I see this is not really whole different than things that have already been passed as resolutions. So why bother to say it again?
You speaking, Betty, just to that one portion, or you're speaking to the whole resolution?
I was thinking of the whole resolution in general. Where is something new and who is this resident that's going to make such a big difference? Can we even agree on who that is and how are they going to represent us? Why would elected officials have them at the table? We already have the people in the Battery Park City Authority who are speaking as advocates for us. And they can pass on information and resolutions can do it directly for us. I would have no expectation. You're really asking that they have someone at the table. That means they appoint someone to be equal to the mayor, equal to the controller, and vote with them. And that to me is ludicrous. So I don't like the image it projects.
Oh, interesting. No, we would not ever, even legislatively or legally, we could not have a say in what they decide. We were asking for a seat at the table just to be heard, as to give it different ideas and speak on behalf.
Resolutions do that.
And
do you think they're unable to
listen.
read them?
But yeah, no. So clearly I disagree. I think that it's a really important factor that we talk about how the money is spent. I hear what you're saying and I disagree with it, but I hear what you're saying specific to the housing, and my comment back to that, whether the affordable housing is built here, the Bronx, wherever, Brooklyn, my comment back to that is a lot of the people that work here can't live here, and they should be able to if they want to. You should not have doormen having to travel 2-3 hours to get to work. You should not have teachers having to travel an hour and a half to 2 hours because they can't afford to teach at the schools. Home health care attendants. I don't even know who else you're going to throw into the
Hall
mix.
workers, bodega people,
Bodega people, yes,
coffee
all those
shops,
people. These are all the
firefighters,
yes,
policemen.
firefighters, police officers. Thank you, Tammy. Yes, there's so many people who
And you're
could
going
be
to house all
living
of them.
here, huh?
And you're going to house all of them.
As many as we
Betty,
can.
Hey, hold on. It's not about hyperbole, Betty. It's not about housing all of them. It is about having an opportunity that some of them can live here. When we talk about climate change, we talk about congestion, we talk about, all the other things. It's about having diversified housing in all the neighborhoods. The schools get dinged, literally dinged, because they're not diversified. You can't have it diversified when you've thrown everything from, if you look at the trend in the Battery Park City schools, which is almost like an incubator for a discussion here, they are
Yeah.
less diverse today than they were 10 years ago when they were built.
And I mean, we know that the census gave us that information as well, not specifically to children, but we saw how it is just becoming whiter and whiter and whiter here. And obviously, as the rents are going up, people are being forced out of their homes. So it's whiter, and only the higher stratosphere of socioeconomic people can live here. And that does not make for diversity. That does not do anything for our neighborhood. I think it hurts our neighborhood.
Let's
that's
get
my
back to the
opinion.
discussion about the funds and usage.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah, and let's
whether
focus.
we can
yeah.
argue all day about what kind of housing, we can
Right.
argue all day about many things. We want to make sure everything is accessible, and that's
Yes, that's fair. Yeah.
physically accessible, socioeconomically. Not everything there, but there is opportunities for access.
And I guess my question about getting into the weeds of being accessible, handicapped, disability accessible, able-bodied or disabled people's accessible, is that too much in the weeds? Because anything new that's built is going to be in compliance with building laws. And I appreciate, Betty, that you can't get into the dentist, because I remember taking my mother, and before I can get her home health care, couldn't get her in any place. So you're 100% right. It exists. It's a problem. And those are the older buildings, and they are not accessible. But this resolution is just more about, it's trying to be more high level, even though we're going into stuff. So I don't know. I'm open to suggestions on that one, but my inclination is to say no, not in this resolution, because we're saying here's a portion of money that comes out every year from the Battery Park City Authority. You want to spend it, mayor, comptroller, and BPCA, or really the governor, because it's not the BPCA, but want to spend it on affordable housing. Well, we're saying please give a piece of it back to make housing affordable in Battery Park City, particularly. Please make a piece of it back to make 5 World Trade Center 100% affordable. Please give a piece of it back to make we ask in here, and I want to keep it, because why not? Because we don't know where it's going to go. But we do also reference Local Law 97 and asking for a piece of it to go towards helping residents, businesses, as well as residential and, condos, rentals, and businesses. It's open to anybody, kicking it back to help them meet Local Law 97.
Let's see what other people have to say. Jill still has
Yeah.
her hand up as well.
Jill
and
has,
then-
go ahead, Jill.
Okay,
And then we
just-
want the audience, we want the attendees.
Correct.
Okay, quickly, I'm not sure if it's in there because I can't really read it, but I'd like a part of the sentence to be at least to preserve existing affordable housing. Preserve existing as well, not just to focus on new, but to preserve existing. Secondly, I feel obligated, as much as I don't want to address the comment that somehow I look down on neighborhoods outside of Battery Park City. That is obviously very insulting and not the case. One can look at it from a very different perspective. There is an opportunity in wealthy neighborhoods like this that don't necessarily exist in neighborhoods that may be more affordable to build in. That opportunity from mingling in these excellent schools with your neighbors, it's something that is priceless on one level, but has been measured. I do not look down on other neighborhoods. Any implication that I do so is extremely wrong and extremely insulting, and I don't need to go on about it any further. Thank you.
Thanks, Jill. All right, let's try Kelly again. And then Michelle. Lucian, can you unmute Kelly?
Yeah, I have to open up that channel. 1 second.
Okay.
Kelly, here we go.
Okay, Kelly, try it now.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes,
All right,
yes.
great. Finally, I had to switch to my iPad. I don't know why it wasn't working on my
All right.
phone. Hey, thanks. A couple of things. I love this discussion. All three pieces of it: the energy, in local law 97, plus the affordable housing, plus the joint purpose fund, and I think it's all probably the most important things that we can focus on in our neighborhood, and they are, in my opinion, all linked. The one thing I wanted to say about local law 97, just to recap, I think it's a super important conversation, but to piggyback on what Jeff and Bob were saying, the earlier we start and the more coordinated that we act, that we're going to save a ton of money. You have 10 to 20,000 buildings in the city that are all going to be competing for the few resources of boiler replacement companies, window replacement companies, energy efficiency engineers, the like. And the last thing we want to do is be competing and outbidding trying to get the attention of all those few companies. And that should be and is probably best coordinated through an active plan by the authority. So that I've made this case to Nick and the authority a year ago or a year and a half ago. That can't happen soon enough, right? And that's every dollar we spend in saving money is not just good for climate change. It's good for every resident in affordability. So that's the point I wanted to make. And the joint purpose fund, which I love the conversation, I'm advocate for, keeping communities as diverse. And I agree, I've been here for 30 years and I've watched it become less diverse. One of the reasons I liked living here and like raising our kids. But one of the important thing in any community is that you support diversity in all its forms. We need small businesses, right? So I think having the joint purpose fund carved out to support small businesses, right? The only thing worse than having a neighborhood of Prada that nobody can go to is having empty buildings, and we have more of them than we've ever had, right? And we all know why. And the third thing I wanted to make was to link this to our resiliency plans. We live in a community that nobody balked when we didn't like, and we've been pushing for better resiliency plans. Nobody's balking about climate change and resiliency. What we're balking about is $1 billion price tag if we can do it more in a smarter way. One of the reasons that that's important is that there's only a limited amount of pot that you can take from people. And if you're putting it towards $1 billion, you do the parks, well, that's $1 billion that you don't have towards joint purpose funds and making affordable housing, all right, and supporting small businesses. So these things are not in isolation, right? And what we need is an economic plan for this. Or you're going to have, as much as people don't like a lot of quote rich people ruling a neighborhood, but they're also the most mobile people, right? And when they finally turn around and say, well, things are just getting too expensive and I don't see any headlight and I don't have any control of the money, they decide to move, right? And that's been done writ large in New York that we've seen over the past 2 years, and it's going to come back to bite us. So I think I fully commend that we should have that, and specifically on the joint purpose fund. And I don't know exactly what happened, but the folklore is that we all agreed to the affordable housing in 2010 joint purpose fund, and a whole bunch of money went to develop the Javits Center. I don't know if that's true, but that's certainly what the law is, or the folklore is. And to have some transparency before that's spent, like if we have a resolution and we have some sort of voice and we say we wanted to address affordable housing, that in some way to ensure that it goes there and we don't find out after the fact that, gee, it went to some other developer's wonderful design of luxury housing somewhere on the east side that we didn't have any control over. So with that, like I said, I commend this conversation. I think it's long overdue, and thank you to Lucian for presenting that the presentation that you started with. So thanks.
No, thanks so much, Kelly. You raised some really good points, and I just want to let you know that the 2010 amendment, the settlement agreement, was they agreed to commit the next $861 million back in 2010 of the joint purpose fund revenues to 4 recipients, 4 buckets: the city's general fund, the state's general fund, the city's affordable housing budget, which each received 200 million. And then the remaining 261 million was directed to the city's capital fund to fund affordable housing. So it's not like it was, if, I don't know what the Javits funds cost, but if it was 200 million, it could have come out of the general fund. I don't know. So I have no comments beyond that, but I just thought I would tell you that's what it was agreed to. That was the transparency, and that's how it was given. And then once the Battery Park City Authority hands the money over, if the city does they do what they do with it what they will. It is not under the control of the authority.
That doesn't mean that we can't ask for the type of
Oh, agreed.
transparency that Kelly was referring to. I think that
And we do. Yes, and it's in here too, I think, right? Would you agree, or you want to say something strong?
I'm not sure that specific point, I certainly wasn't focusing on it, but I think that once the agreement is reached where the money is going, there should be a mechanism to make, to report back where it actually went. Including
Okay, we can add that too. I like that. I like that. So yeah, all parties to this negotiation is to commit to transparency. It may not be strong enough or specific enough, so we should maybe add another whereas that says, therefore be it further resolved, not a whereas. Once it's decided,
that there be some, a mechanism to account, a transparent mechanism to account for its actual spending. I mean, we can figure out a wording of it. I mean,
that concept.
I'm not sure that it's necessarily reasonable to account dollar for dollar whatever goes into the general New York City fund that goes in with every other dollar of New York City.
Right.
But certainly something that's designated for affordable housing, we should have some accountability to make sure, as well as just lessons learned when it's over with, that, did that work or not?
Yeah.
We thought we spent $200 million on affordable housing. We find out we got 3 units out of it or whatever. So
Yes, and that would be great, because I think that, yes, I think that's perfect. So I'm going to rely on you to wordsmith that, you and Lucian, to come up with but I think it's a therefore be it further resolved. And then in response to what Marianne Braverman said, and maybe it was Jill, I don't know who else it was, somebody, maybe it was Betty, and it certainly was just Kelly. How about we also add a
small business support if something.
whereas, yeah, and I kind of tried to write it. Oh, it was you, Tammy, duh. I skip
Well,
everybody.
it was actually
right?
me
Sorry.
too. But,
And you too. Okay, there you go. I'm tired and hungry. But we could say, whereas CB1 believes that a percentage of the joint purpose fund be allocated to support small businesses. And are we going to say in Lower Manhattan, in Battery Park City?
In Lower Manhattan that are not
Okay.
otherwise served by a local bid.
Perfect. Okay, so add that in.
Justine, can I make one comment
Yes.
about transparency?
Yes.
I think for the specific buckets, when the earlier point, if there's 4 different categories that were elaborated in the 2010 agreement, and one being the affordable housing, it would be simple, more simple to have a report or something post hoc that would say where the funds went to, responsible for the generation of units, where they were. We could look back and say this is what the funds were used for. But for the buckets that go towards the state and the city's general fund, it's essentially a slush fund for the money. I mean, I hate to use slush fund because it's such negative, but I mean, it could go towards political favor.
I agree with you, Lucian, on that.
And so I think that if in the interest of having the ability to have transparency after the money is spent, I think that the request would be that it would be every bucket should have a direct purpose and not a general fund related piece.
Oh,
and
okay.
that would allow for tracking.
Okay. I like that.
Otherwise, it'd be impossible because it would be, fungible with all the other,
Fungible. Right, that
general
makes
fundable,
sense.
general fund dollars.
That makes sense.
Wait, let me
Again-
see if I understand, Lucian, what you're saying. Are you suggesting that there not be any portion of the fund that goes, of the special purpose fund that goes to the city's general budget or the state's general budget?
Yeah, if we were to understand what the impact of these dollars are, and where they go, if they're mixed in with general funds, then it would be very difficult to kind of understand that impact, because essentially they're, a drop in the,
I
bucket.
understand. I mean, I kind of agree in concept, but I think politically that's never going to happen. I mean,
Well,
the
it's not necessarily something that we'll get, but I think the point will be made that this is money that's being produced, and that there are real needs for it. But if they're not elaborating what the actual need is and just kind of dumping it in, then the money is simply just adding fat to, and not being used deliberately with
Okay.
purpose. But you all do with that what you will. That's just my recommendation.
No, and if I mean, I may be wrong in my understanding of the general purpose fund, but if my understanding is correct, it's basically an allocation of the excess funds that's in a sense traceable to the ground rent as opposed to traceable to pilot.
No, that is incorrect, because the Battery Park City Authority insists on saying the money comes in, they put in a bucket and they mix it up. So we don't know
But the
where it's traced to.
proportion, but that factor, the proportion of the factor
It's proportionate to the ground
determines
rent versus the pilot
is the fraction generated by the portion that was ground rent
versus
compared
pilot.
to the
Yes.
portion that, and therefore, although dollars themselves are fungible, the amount of money is basically proportional to the ground rent portion of the collections. And I think there is an entitlement to the payers of that ground rent to know where their money went, as opposed to the pilot, which is just like property taxes, and regular taxpayers don't get to say where their property tax goes, and demand an accounting of where every dollar of their tax went. But ground rent's a little different. And so I think Lucian's suggestion is I think defensible. I'm agreeing.
I mean, it's a good, yeah, I agree with him too. No, I think that makes sense, because I do agree with Lucian's suggestion. I think that that's fair. I think it's a moderated approach, because you're not going to make them give us a blow by blow, and they're not going to give it. And I also don't want to be putting ourselves in the position to be asking for something that makes them look at us and say, okay, these people need to go away. Because I want them to do these things.
Well, I think the accountability on the affordable housing is more important than on the others,
Correct.
in the sense that that is a preeminent objection of this settlement agreement to begin with, is to have the Battery Park City funds go towards the development of affordable housing. And I think everyone, including the authority, is entitled to have some confidence that when it was shipped off for that purpose, it was actually used for that purpose.
I think that makes sense. Right. And we have no guarantee, although, yeah, we have no guarantee how it was spent. And that's, I think, is the point. And now it would be nice to have accountability. But again, it's not holding just the authority accountable, because it's not the authority that's spending the money. It's the city who are really holding
I
accountable.
think this is a benefit to the authority.
Yeah,
not
it is actually. Yeah. So we're clear, and people listening were clear. No, I think that makes sense. I see Michelle Ashkin's hand is up. I want to make sure we call on her. I don't see any committee members' hands up, but I think once we hear from Michelle, I want to call the question. I'm going to put forth the calling the question, but I'm not doing it yet. I don't want to stop discussion until we hear from Michelle. Go ahead, Michelle. You're unmuted, Michelle. Go ahead and speak.
I'm speaking. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Hi there. First of all, I want to thank you for this really interesting and very necessary conversation. It's really important, and I'm learning a lot, so thank you all. I'll be really short. I just want to say one thing. I really support big time what I think Marianne began with, and Kelly and others have also chimed in, how important it is for us to ask for the joint purpose funds to go towards helping small businesses, because um, there's a complete loss of our community here. I mean, there is no sense of community at all. Everything's closing. The cleaners just closed. You know, we don't know what's happening with, I mean, you know, I don't have to tell you what's closing. I walk around here, I don't feel like I'm in a neighborhood. And yes, I love the parks. And yes, I love, you know, a lot about Battery Park City. I've been here for almost 25 years. But I am really, really depressed about what's happening to my community. And I'm not the only one. We're all feeling it, you know, and I'm wondering, is the pet spa going to be next? Or, you know, what's next? What more is going to be, you know, closed up? And this is a big deal, especially if we want to. I mean, I'm not wealthy. I just, you know, I manage to live here, but you know, I have to really watch my pockets. And I think most people in my building, or many people in the community, are in my position. But also, I mean, there's no place to go. There's no place really to eat. There's no place to gather. There's nothing. I mean, there's just nothing. So it's really depressing. It's really upsetting. I don't want all these big chains coming in here. That's not why I moved here. Um, uh, you know, it's really disturbing. So I'm hoping that we can say more than, I didn't get Tammy's quote, that when you said that, are not otherwise something to another bid. I feel very strongly, and of course, I don't know the politics of any of this, but we really need that community in Battery Park City. I know we need it downtown. I know everybody in the city is suffering from what we're suffering from, these small shops that are closing down. But I live here, and you guys are a Battery Park City committee, and we need to ask for this for Battery Park City residents. There's just nothing here that for us. I feel like it's all for tourism or for very wealthy or whatever, but it certainly isn't for me. I don't know. I don't know where to. I can't live here comfortably anymore. I don't feel like I have any sense of community. So, you know, that's just a personal perspective, and I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Yeah, appreciate it, Michelle. Thank you. And thank you for your patience.
Oh no, it's
Um,
really informative. I've really learned a lot listening to everybody speak.
No, thank you. This is great. Thank you. All right. I see Vicky and then Tammy, right? Or did I lose Tammy? Vicky, but go ahead, Vicky.
Hi. Hi, good evening,
Sure.
everyone. So I've been listening to, you know, this wonderful meeting. And right here at this point, I wanted to chime in and remind everyone that a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, well, probably a year and a half ago, I was warning our community board about what Michelle just described. If there's one, there's 10,000 of hers. I was simply, as a single female professional, I could not find a reasonable place to live in Lower Manhattan. And I kept asking, well, what is everyone else doing? You want diversity? You want families? Not a chance. It's $1.50 for an orange at Key Food. And as we allowed the building owners to hijack rents and you know, condo co-op sales, I was telling you all that what you're getting is 2 or 3 kids, you know, in their between 20 and 30, 32, living in studios, sharing. And so all our wonderful amenities have slowly in the last 2 years left. And as you can see, people are getting really concerned. So I'm not saying this because I told everyone, but I was so desperate, and I eventually had to move across the bridge to Brooklyn Heights because it just had that much more vestige of a community and a community that I could afford. So I'm really concerned about where we're going with this and what is the quality of life that's left over I think last week I spoke up at the licensing committee where, you know, my office is down on Wall Street, but all we're getting is, aside from big chains, restaurants. It's just like, what's the word? Commoditizing humans, you know, and it's really
That works.
upsetting. Yeah, it's really upsetting because, you know, I was walking around the other day and, you know, there isn't a single art store or some creative little nook or, you know, somebody doing something and showcasing, you know, what they're doing, saying, if you want to, you know, buy or engage, a cute coffee shop, you know, just stuff where people hang out and do nothing. But no worries. South Seaboard, that new place opened up. It's doing great. I'm sorry. Anyway, I just wanted to say I concur with everyone here, and as one of those witness to the escalating cost of living downtown. Thank you.
No, thank you so much, Vicky. Really appreciate you coming and sitting through this whole meeting and your input and your everything. It was great. Thank you. Enjoyed having you here.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I was trying to, hoping to maybe kind of summarize where we are on this. I've
Yes,
tried to keep
please.
note of the additions and trying to incorporate what Vicky and Michelle have just said with what we had before. I mean, Tammy had suggested small business support where there is no bid. I would suggest small business support. I mean, we won't wordsmith the wording, but in terms of the coverage, small business support, in particular, where there is no bid and in Battery Park City. Battery Park City doesn't technically have a bid, but I'm not sure whether it would be considered bid-like or not, but we definitely need it in Battery Park City.
Before we bring that, Jeff, to the full board, we need to just clarify, maybe Nick Sportone, if he's still on, knows the answer to this, but I believe that Battery Park City in part is the businesses within Battery Park City are eligible to partake of the small business opportunities that exist with the Downtown Alliance as part of the catchment. I'm not 100%. We can double check that with both the Downtown Alliance, but I know Nick is still here.
But do the small businesses, are they able to take advantage of it? I guess they can.
Well, I don't know. Nick
I
is
don't
here.
know either.
Nick, do you know?
Hey, I'm still here. I am. Yes, I'm here. No, I don't know, but I can check for you guys, for the purposes of drafting. So,
Yeah,
make it
because
that.
yeah, I think we know, and number one, we are the Battery Park City Committee, but we've also early on talked about specific small business problems in Battery Park City in terms of their viability. We've talked about Rite Aid earlier, which is not exactly a small business, but at least it's resident friendly business. But the pizza place, the liquor store, the various cleaners, the other Gristedes, and so forth. So Battery Park City definitely has issues, and there are parts of the district, as Tammy has pointed out, that don't even have a bid.
Yes.
And need support. So anyway, small business support to be tweaked a little bit depending upon what Nick gets back to us on in terms of the Downtown Alliance. Transparency in terms of post hoc accountability of where the money was actually spent. And I've been thinking about Betty's mobility support. I mean, it's a similar, I don't know how small businesses accommodate mobility now. I mean, if a new business opens up, are they required? If like I open a dentist office tomorrow, does it have to be? If it's in an existing premise, does it have to be
If
accessible?
Vicky's still here, she could maybe help us out with that one. But I think the answer is yes.
Yeah. If you do a certain amount of work in an existing establishment, there's a quota where they make you comply. But essentially, if you're opening a new business, you're filing with the building department. ADA is a federal law, so they have to provide an accessible bathroom and a route there and a route back from the front door to
the furthest point away.
Well, we could provide, ask for funding available for retrofitting small businesses for accessibility. Perhaps they would do it. They'd get more business if it were funded by something
We
else.
could ask for that. That would be a thing. A percentage of it, you know, a small
Portion
percentage
of
of
it.
the fund.
Yeah.
I mean, everything I'm in here, I keep saying a percentage of. To me, it would be a smaller percentage than for affordable housing, for example, but it's a percentage. So yeah.
Well, okay, and that gets me to my last point on the resolution. I made a number of
Yeah.
little minor suggested edits in the version, Justine. I don't propose that we spend the meeting time going through wordsmithing. In many places, I changed percentage to portion.
Okay.
But because I can imagine a fixed sum as opposed to a fixed percentage, depending upon what it's being used for, and portion is a more general term, but I don't feel strongly about that.
No, let me interrupt you on that one and say the reason why I say percentage is because there's no guarantee in the 1980 settlement agreement. There's no guarantee how much money goes into the joint purpose fund. And while it's unlikely that future years there'll only be $1 in there, if we've got something saying, you know, we need to put in $1 million towards something and they don't have $1 million, what are they supposed to do? So that's
Okay.
why I say percentage, not portion.
Okay.
There's a
Okay.
reason.
Okay. The other change is really one of tone. If you just agree to work in good faith with me on wordsmithing that, I would have a hard time supporting a resolution when I don't like the tone, even if I do like the substance. But I'm happy to vote for this resolution as long as you're agreeing to work with me on satisfying the tone. And and the only thing is I would make it a little more neutral in a few places.
Right, there's some places where I say urge, you say calls
Or
upon.
I say urge, you say demand. I don't.
Yeah, or something like that. I'm willing if the committee prefers to be more neutral or less strident. How's that? I'm good with that.
I think we're listened to more when we're less strident. Other people have a different view of how the world works, but that's the way that's my own personality.
No, that's fine. And then some of the other basically one other thing that Jeff got rid of, which makes sense, is where I have BPC residents and CB1, he got rid of BPC residents because it didn't make any sense.
Yeah, we're only that was in the
CB1.
context
We're just talking,
of
yeah.
the CB1 asked for, but we don't speak for the residents. Technically, it speaks for the board.
Makes sense.
So
yeah, the rest of it was just a little bit of tone. I'm fine with it. The only other one that I saw, yeah, that's fine. That's just changes. Was where you, in this one sentence here, CB1, it's this last whereas on the page. It says CB1 additionally urges that a portion, but I'm going to say a percentage of the joint purpose fund be earmarked to preserve affordability for moderate and middle income or to moderate middle income as defined by the annual AMI and fixed income rental tenants, with the caveat that any benefit to the tenant cannot be passed through to landlords in the form of unrestricted rent increases. And I am inclined to want to add, as was done after 9/11/2001 and with 421G, because that's specific to lower
The
rent.
reason I crossed that out is number one, I didn't know how that was in fact done. And number two, that implies that as long as they pass it on in a way that's different from what was done after 9/11 and what was done in 421G, it would be okay to pass it on.
Okay, that second part makes sense. What would happen would be, at least I was here before 9/11. I came back, was rent, and for a bit rented. And the rent, I got a check every month for $500. That's in Battery Park City, and the rent went up $500. So it was, you know, if they wanted to charge me $2,000, they were charging me. I was paying $2,000. They just increased the rent to compensate themselves for the subsidy that they thought they should be getting, not me.
Yeah.
And
Personally,
that's
I
my
think this-
point. But how do I say that? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think the statement is stronger if it's unqualified, because this seems like as long as they do it in a way that was different than what was done after 9/11 and with 421G, it would be okay. So that was my reason. I don't feel strongly about it, but that was my reason for crossing it out. I thought it was weaker with it in.
I'm fine to concede to you on that. Betty, you had your hand up before. I don't want to not let you speak, so please.
No, that's fine. It was kind of a detour. I just wanted to push back. Sorry, Vicky. The conditions for people with physical disabilities is so limited in Lower Manhattan. And let me tell you about the accessible bathroom. This was a high rise on Broadway. The fact that the dentist, because they had me talk to the managers of the building, and although you have to go directly from the first floor to the floor wherever you're going to, your destination is, there is one accessible toilet stall supposedly in the whole high-rise building. So
No
it's my
way.
obligation to go back down to the first floor, track down the manager of the building, ask them to please escort me to the floor if they had time, to where there was an accessible stall. And that was their idea of accessibility. That's not accessibility, sorry.
So you really have to do everyone a favor and start reporting these buildings, because by law, they're,
Actually, they don't.
what?
They don't,
Well, you went to a multi-tenant building,
yes.
and your destination that is a public space did not provide you with an accessible bathroom?
Not on the floor where in fact, it's a dental office, but on the floor where the dentist was, no, there was not. And they told me
They have
there
to
was
be.
one floor, they didn't name which floor it was, but there was one floor that had an accessible stall.
That's against the law.
It's very, very
You have to
common.
report it. Right, but we have to keep reporting it, because they'll do anything they can to get away without it, with shenanigans. It's against the law.
Well, I can tell you that 50% of those covered by my insurance don't even claim to be accessible. And of the 50% that claim to be accessible, I haven't found one of them yet that is.
Well, I was going to add here, not
But anyway,
to support your point, Justine, if you don't mind, it just occurred to me that when I was looking for a place from FIDI to move to Battery Park City, it was absolutely impossible. Like, Battery Park City was off the list. The prices are off the charts, and the requirements, it's like a terrible punishment for single women, because we're always getting paid less than men, right? And I just making this as a comment. So Battery Park is completely inaccessible. And as I said, I should be able to at least rent a studio. No. I
It's
asked
financially inaccessible, yeah.
totally. And I also wanted to warn you about 421G. I know several buildings and lots of people who are dealing with it. And I know that there are landlords who received 421G and did not pass it down to the tenants. And this happened, right? 15 years. And now there are buildings that are being sued. The landlords are or the owners and landlords are being sued. And there's so much paperwork, but also a lot of hiding. 421G was not honestly distributed, and it had no check marks. So if you guys are going to rely on 421G, the wording has to be changed. Otherwise, the landlords will just take advantage.
So my whole point was
Just
to
the
make.
way they take advantage of Betty, and the law is very clear. I spend endless amount of time every day, all day, trying to find designs that accommodate the law. And when they don't do it, it just enrages me. Or they
Agreed, but
lie, or make up stories, or tell her she has to go, left, right, center, 15 floors. You have to start reporting them. And,
no,
once the
100%.
federal government gets on their back, believe me, they have to fix it. Oh, I've been in
Aren't you
projects
shaking your
where,
head because they don't? I know that's not that.
Really?
But about 421G, no, we were not saying it was a good thing. We were saying it was a failed program. That was the point.
oh,
It was a failed program, horrifying.
Failed, as it trickled down, AKA
Yeah,
did not, it
that's,
completely failed.
that's the point that I would like to not have. I don't know what the loophole would be to avoid, but we would figure it out. But I'm okay with your language, Jeff.
Okay.
As
All right,
changed.
I think we're ready to call
I
the
think we're ready
question.
to call the question. I think so. I don't see any other hands. I'm hopeful. So yeah, I call the question. Anybody second it or whatever?
Second,
Okay, give me a
Okay,
second.
cool.
I mean,
Perfect.
not a
Thank you.
second like that, but give me one moment.
Oh, oh, give you a second.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah. All right, I'm ready.
All right. So we have to do okay. I guess that we'll do it by affirmation. So I'm going to assume that most people are yes. So my question will be, if you are a no, please say your name and say no.
Okay, no.
If you are abstaining. If you are recusing. Okay, thank you. I think it passes with one
And
no.
if we could just, I'm sorry, but per the board's rules, if we could
Oh.
just have the cameras on.
Oh,
just
on.
so-
Everybody should be on. Yeah, who's voting? So
yeah,
I
anyone's
need
voting. So
Jimmy, I need you to
Jimmy,
put just Jimmy, really. That's it.
let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. I don't
Okay,
see anyone
1,
else.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And Jimmy's 7, but Jimmy's not putting on because
You're
yeah,
able to put your camera on? Okay, well, you still have quorum.
I still have quorum. Okay.
Wait, where's Robin?
Robin is gone. She literally could not stay for the rest of the meeting because of her job. So her quitting, I don't know when it is effective, but she had to quit tonight.
Oh, okay. So hold on, let me just revisit
Yeah, so,
quorum
yeah,
here. Hold
sorry.
on one second. 5.
well, she either resigned before the meeting or she should be counted as recused for the purpose of this vote.
Well,
'cause
she's not here to say that, so,
I-
Yeah.
right. hold
Or
on.
just, I mean,
So
absent, I don't know. She doesn't vote. But will
Okay,
we have
well, you're
quorum?
still fine. You're still fine
Okay,
with this. I'm just
because
gonna
yeah,
mark it
Tammy hung
accordingly.
up. Well,
Yeah.
okay,
Yep, you're
thank
fine.
you. Thank you so much. All right, so we're good. How about we let Patrick Murphy go next for a quick update on happenings in Battery Park City? So Patrick, just unmute yourself and then we'll do a quick Nick and then we really do this fast. Go ahead, Patrick.
I like it.
Hello, how are you?
Hey,
Happy
how
New
are you,
Year,
sir?
everybody.
Happy New Year.
All right, as a quick one, for graffiti this year, we had 9 in December. Homeless, we didn't have any interaction with homeless. Boston Frown property, we had 1. Basically park rules, we had 2 incidents of that. And for dogs, we had 1 incident for the month of December. That pretty much wraps it up. We're dealing with graffiti pretty much in Teardrop Park. So we're dealing with those kids.
Hmm.
So
What were the park rules were no, that was not dogs.
the park rules were pretty much it. They put it on their park rules, 1 graffiti report, and the other one was dealing with a dog on a lawn.
Huh.
That was the park
Okay.
rules. That was it.
Patrick, your year-over-year numbers are fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love
It's real
cold.
cold in December.
I love cold weather and I love rain.
Well, good job. Take it.
Patrick, I noticed somebody being pulled out of the water yesterday or the day before. Do you know what that incident was?
Basically, we heard it over the police radio. So it was somebody in the water at the Hudson over by the terminal, the ferry
Yeah.
terminal there.
Mm-hmm.
And the police and fire department responded. They were able to pull them out. So I don't know if they fell off, if they fell off the boat or whether it was actually somebody jumping in. We weren't able to get that. We just knew that they were rescued and they were removed to the hospital.
Okay, thanks.
Good.
Anybody else? Just unmute if you've got a question for Patrick. Okay, Patrick, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And
Take care.
again,
Have a good night.
happy, healthy, and prosperous New Year to everybody.
Yeah, same to you and your
Thank you.
family. Take care, Patrick. All right,
Bye.
Nick, you're up.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Justine and committee. Happy New Year. Lucian, you're gonna have to remind me of the procedure and the rules, but I sometimes find that annoyingly my throughput slows down. So if it slows down, I'm just gonna turn my camera off if that's okay. You'll still have my voice. Is that all right in case that
You
happens?
do not have to be on camera, Nick.
Okay, well, I would say I have a face made for radio, so that's better that way
No,
anyway.
stop.
I know,
Stop.
I know.
Thank you, Nick.
Betty loves that line. Betty loves that line. Anyway, Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks again for another great year. Looking forward to an even more successful 2023. I will go through this as my want relatively quickly. The full report will be up on our site, and Lucian, you'll have that for the community board's archives. I will fast forward basically to the top of page 2. As you all have seen, the winter 2023 winter program and events guide is released, and that obviously it's a gorgeous picture on the cover, and it has events, the vast majority of which are free from January through April. I took the opportunity to kind of excerpt some of the main items coming up. First of which, as we know, is the annual tree recycling efforts that are underway. Simply leave your tree curbside from now through the end of January 27th. If it's a couple of days after that, we're not going to hold it against the stragglers. Leave your tree outside. No decorations, lights, tinsel, or stands, please. We'll make sure we get that picked up and chipped, turned into mulch, composted, and used back in Battery Park City's parks to keep them green and beautiful. We have a Paradox Doc series coming up that starts in January. That's once each month. This is page 3, Lucian. The annual art exhibition, which is a really popular event. The opening reception is January 29th at 6 River Terrace. And then it'll be on display Thursdays throughout February at the same place, 2:30 to 2 to 5:30 rather. There'll be an accompanying YouTube presentation launched at the end of this month that kind of shows the highlights from that exhibit as well. That's always really a fun event to see some of the talents of our program participants brought to bear and shown throughout the neighborhood. A couple events in early February, but the big one I just wanted to make note of was our next blood drive is coming up on February 10th. That's in the regular location at the regular time, 6 River Terrace, 12 to 6. And wanted to thank the generosity of all the Battery Park City participants and participants across downtown and elsewhere who gave blood during 2022. Almost 600 donations were made over the course of our blood drives last year. That number is now final since the year's out. So thank you everyone for that. And then the last thing on programming for the moment is I will give a plug to our community center at Stuyvesant High School. We talk about this every now and again, but for those who haven't been with us for a while or for the otherwise uninitiated, the community center at Stuyvesant High School, as you may know, is operated by the Battery Park City Authority 7 days a week. During the weekdays, it's when school is not in session, obviously. The winter hours are listed there, but what I really obviously wanted to draw everyone's attention to was the annual rates again for those who might not know. If you're an adult anywhere in New York City, 18 and up, it's $199 per year. $199 per year. So that's an extraordinarily affordable rate, and those rates are even more further deeply discounted for Battery Park City residents. So if you're a Battery Park City resident who's over 18, it's $179 a year. That's less than $15 a month, 15. We have youth, senior, and military prices, and if you're a youth, senior, or military member who's also a Battery Park City resident, it's $59 a year. That's less than $5 a month. So new year, new you, community center at Stuyvesant High School. We have all sorts of programs: boxing, tai chi, yoga, the pool, the gym, the basketball courts. So it's really, really a wonderful opportunity and a really great service offered for Battery Park City residents and anyone who really wants to join. And obviously, day passes, I should note, are also available if you just want to come in for the day to check out the facilities. Moving down, we have the South Cove Quay. Those repairs are underway, looking to be complete this spring. The seniors webpage, we talked about it. I don't know if Marianne is still on, but that is updated. Last month, I had an update on the free membership lottery that Asphalt Green was running. Folks had entered it, and I think that lottery is going to be announced in the coming days. So once we have that update, we'll share that with the seniors and with the community board when we have it. We had talked a little bit about the Brookfield shed that was installed for local law 11 facade inspections. That, as I have it from Brookfield, the permit has been filed with DOB for them to run their inspection. Once they conduct their inspection, presuming it's all done up to snuff, the scaffolding should come down. So that should be coming up in the next couple of weeks. Police Memorial we have covered, and the winter hours for the ball fields again. Remember, are 8 to 8. And then we have linked there the December, January, and February 23 open hours for folks who are without permits. There are open hours in the fields each day where you can go and enjoy them. Resiliency projects. So Northwest Battery Park City Resiliency Project. Thank you to Tammy, Justine, and Alice, and the rest of the folks on the community board, Lucian especially, in getting all those comments in for the draft public scoping document for the North, which was completed on December 31st. Coming up, as promised, we're going to have REACH-specific meetings over the course of the next couple of months, probably toward the start of February. So each of the REACHs of the Northwest project will be able to do a little deeper dive on each of those segments. Like I've said before, more meetings, but an opportunity for us to go a little deeper on each of those stretches, and then public meeting number 5 for that project coming up thereafter. We have linked there also, obviously, a couple of the other presentations we made as well, including the December 7th presentation to the committee and the answers from public meeting number 4. Last night at Betty's committee, and thank you again, Betty, and Jess and others, we presented on a couple of the bus stops that are going to be relocated for the South Battery Park City Resiliency Project construction. I kind of cut and paste and included the schematic that was presented last night as well. Lucian and I had discussed it at further length a little bit today, and I know Jeff had made the point last night. We are getting some additional and further information from MTA, and once we have that, we'll share it with you. If there are additional requests or tweaks that the community board has with respect to those stops, let us know. We can coordinate with the MTA. You all can reach out to the MTA as well, but happy to have those conversations with the MTA, which ultimately I should say makes the decisions about its stops, its signage, its poles, and where they are. But nonetheless, we wanted to make sure that folks had known about the M20 stop being potentially relocated, and the downtown connection stop at the bottom of the image there, that second red dot, being removed for the duration. But there is another downtown connection stop on the other side of West Street West in Washington, just
Before
off
you
the.
go on, Nick,
Go ahead.
sorry about this, because there might be some people here who were not on in Betty's meeting, and
Sure.
I think we're just going to have to maybe next month just have you do this again early in the meeting, so there's more people who are here. But this is
we
going
may have some more information by that point too from MTA.
by that point too.
I should
But this
assume we
is
would.
you're at this point the fences are staying up and you're looking to have this work start in the next 2 weeks, and it's not no destruction. No, tell me what you said last time.
So the temporary site fencing that's now up around Wagner Park and the Lower Esplanade, the temporary construction fencing is going to be going up. So no construction work in Wagner Park, but the temporary construction fencing will be erected. That will allow us to get some additional signage up on the fence, directional signage about some of the cultural institutions that are nearby, some of the things that help people with wayfinding along those lines. And it's a little bit more of a sturdy structure. We want it to be able to obviously last for the duration of the project, which is 24 months, and the temporary fence just isn't going to be able to be as sturdy as the temporary fencing will be. So you'll see that going up. And what is going to be necessitated there is the relocation of the downtown connection stop at the bottom of the schematic there.
Okay. No, thank you so much for clarifying.
Yes, and we can go through again. Yeah, I threw it in because when I spoke with Lucian about going to transportation, I said I wanted to make sure I repeated it at BPC. Next month when I'm back, to the extent that we have updates on the MTA stop, the M20 stop being moved, we will. I mean, I won't keep it a secret. if I have it before, then I'll let you know, but we'll also put it in a report for next month.
No, that would be great. And I know you talk about it in Betty's committee, the transportation committee, but it just helps because a lot of
Yeah.
people come here and you're getting to more reach. So that's good. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Sorry, keep
And then,
going.
of course, no, and then obviously, as we have it as well, we have our newsletter, our blog. Lucian and the team are also great about getting updates into the community board newsletter as well. We reach, I'm guessing there's a significant amount of overlap, but we also reach different audiences as well. So we want to make sure we get the word out as broadly as we can. Scrolling down, then going on to the program highlights and status updates there, Lucian, that's the middle of page 6. We talked last week about Justice Reflected. If you haven't all seen it yet, it's on the Esplanade Plaza wall by James Yahya Huff, who is a critically acclaimed, formerly incarcerated artist. He has a temporary public art installation. It's a series of 3 murals, which is really beautiful to behold. So you'll see that there. And then we had the State Birding Trail. We had mentioned back in October that we were added to the statewide birding trail with more information there. Rounding things out, I just had a couple of items in here that we were of interest past few months. So community and dog waste composting, that's to go with the tree tripping and the composting we're doing for holiday trees. There's obviously dog waste composting, including the new drop-off location on the Esplanade, just out of Esplanade Plaza. The Manhattan Weekly Resurfacing Schedule, that was something that came up a few months ago when DOT does milling and paving. I know it was an issue up by River Terrace, Betty's Building, and elsewhere. So we just have the links there. That's DOT's initiative, but we put the links in there. We'll keep that in there for a little bit so people can track when those milling and paving schedules are happening. If you click on that link also, you can get alerts directly to your mailbox if you want to sign up to get updates that way. We have our board meeting schedule for 2023 is listed all out there. January 25th is upcoming, and then the months thereafter. And First Precinct Community Council, as many of you know, is the last Thursday of every month for the most part. January 26th being the next one there. And the last item was, we talked a little bit about this last night, Justine, and I will follow up with SAPO as discussed. But right now, the only item we have for our large-scale events is a crane steel pick hoist at North End Avenue. That was going to happen last month. It got delayed because of weather, so that's going to happen over the weekend in the North End Avenue southern extension there between the two, the Brookfield and the NYMEX building. And that's the long and the short of it. Pat covered the Allied Universal numbers, so thank you for that. And that concludes it. That was a little less than 10 minutes, I hope.
I think we're good. Thank you.
And I believe you have a
And
hand up.
I do. Okay. So Brittany. Okay. I'm sure. Thank you. Go ahead. Unhook Brittany. Unmute. Sorry, not unhook. Go ahead, Brittany.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much. I have, this was really helpful. I have 2 questions. My first question is actually related to the work that's happening in Teardrop. There's been temporary fencing up in around Teardrop, parts of Teardrop around one of the buildings for probably between 6 to 12 months or so, with really no work that I see visibly happening, and my window looks out at Teardrop. I was just wondering what the update is on when that work is going to be completed and that temporary construction fencing is going to be coming down. That was question number 1, and then I have a second one.
This is 325 North End Avenue, I believe it is. They had some facade work going on. I have to check and see when that's going to come down. That's not the authority, that's the building, but I can follow up with the building and find out when that's going to be.
Yeah, that would be great if it can be communicated out. It doesn't. I honestly have not seen any work happening on it in like months and months, so it would be helpful. Specifically, as you know, snow comes and kids sled in that area a lot. The second question is during the December 19th CB1 meeting, the environmental committee meeting. We heard an update that all the resiliency projects are delayed. Could you talk about the delays across all the resiliency projects, Nick?
I'm not sure what that means.
Are there delays in the battery resiliency project? Obviously, we know with the South resiliency project, but are there components that are moving forward? Is the whole thing delayed?
Oh, I mean, I
Um,
can't speak to any other than our projects. So if it's about battery, coastal resilience, or Seaport FIDI or any of that, that would be the appropriate agencies, EDC likely, or the Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice.
okay, could you talk
Yeah.
about then the South Battery Park one?
Yeah. So
What
South
was
Battery.
announced was it was a minimum of 6 months, which was the first I'd heard that. What was stated in that meeting?
Oh, I don't know if you. I don't think that I stated that. Do you remember who said that?
I think it was
Might
Tammy.
have been Tammy.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I don't have. I don't have an update on how long it's going to be stopped. So we are aiming to have the South Battery Park City Resiliency Project done as quickly as possible, which is why the permanent site fencing is going up. The construction itself, physical construction within Wagner Park, will not proceed based upon the agreement reached by the counterparties to the litigation. But the temporary fencing will go up, and other non-construction related activities will continue.
You know
So
what,
there's
Brittany,
no,
I know what you're asking, and Nick, I'll follow up with Tammy and have her get back with you so we can get a clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Because clearly, whatever's happening with Wagner, well, there's nothing. No, until we know what happens with the lawsuit, we don't know what's happening in Wagner Park, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say it's there will be a delay based on the ongoing litigation, but how long I can't say.
okay.
because
Right?
So the 6 months.
Delay in the
Yeah,
physical
that was
work.
bandied about, Brittany. You're not. That is a
Yeah.
true statement. She's
The
not
delay
making
in
that up.
the
but-
delay in the physical construction work, but that's why there are other items that we can proceed on that we are proceeding on, like the non-construction related activities, the permanent construction fence, etc.
What's the
I think
non-construction related activities, I guess, then? What do you mean by that? Just the fence, or is there more?
The fence for the most part.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious about the 6 months where that came from. That was announced in December. If we could get some clarity on that. Just because if that is a minimum of 6 months, that it's delayed. There's specifically a lot of PS 276 families that would like access to the park during the time of the delays and be able to use the park. So if it's just sitting there fenced off for 6 months, it's kind of, it's a heavily used public space.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, good point. Thank you. And let's just get clarification. That would be helpful. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
We have Barbara Ireland.
Okay, let's let her talk. Barbara, you're unmuted.
Could you give an update on the art installation movement from Wagner to the other locations?
I do. I was
It's
wanting
done.
to try to not belabor it, but it's in my report, Lucian. If you go to, I'm sorry, if you would please go to, it was in the report last month as well, but if you go to page.
No, not, well, there's that one, but do you mean the moving ones? Okay, there you go.
Yes.
It's right there.
Sorry. Oh, yes, page 6. So Ape and Cat at the Dance is now, it's in place at the hardscape of Rector Park East. You can see it. I had a picture last month, but every month it's kind of a competition for space and getting the page to look a certain way. So the picture was in last month. That's not in this month. But the Ape and Cat at the Dance is on the hardscape east of Rector Park East. Resonating Bodies will be to the terminus of second place, and Eyes is going to be moved to third place, leading down to South Cove. I checked today, that work should be completed in the, say, next couple of weeks or so. So by the time I'm next before you in January, if not before, those temporary art. Those pieces should be temporarily located. And for the benefit of the folks who may not have been following along, one of the discussions we had with Just Keen's committee, I think it was last December of 21,
Might have been.
was we wanted to make sure that during the construction, these public art pieces were not simply put in storage, but that were still able to be seen for the benefit of Battery Park City residents, neighbors, partners, friends, etc. So we worked to identify locations on hardscape throughout Battery Park City where these places could be temporarily located over the course of the construction. So that's the kind of the provenance there. So that's the 3 art pieces and the 3 locations.
Thank you.
So thank you for asking that, Barbara. The ape and cat are there. They're in Rector
Yeah.
Park East.
Yeah.
And I think at least one of the resonating bodies is up. If
Yeah,
not
there's like
both.
a horn and there's like the harp.
Yeah.
So yeah.
One of them was up. And I didn't see the eyes yet, but I also haven't been down there. So, but no, thank you. That's perfect. Anybody else? I see no other questions, no other hands raised. I want to call this meeting to an end, and I thank you. I thank everybody for being here. I thank everybody for their input. Nick, thank you for listening, and your comments. And that was quick. And Patrick, as always, thank you. Good to see you. And I'm so glad to see the other people who are here. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Jill, for coming. And Bob and Lucian, thank you for a great job on the presentation for Local Law 97. And Jeff, I couldn't have done the resolution without your input, so thank you.
All right. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
All right,
Everyone.
take care, everybody. Good
Thanks
night.
everyone. Happy New Year.
Bye.